Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Hang Up. I'm Matt Dillahunty, and tonight, man, there's a lot going on. There's actually too much to get to, so we're going to kind of narrow it a bit to what I'm actually hung up on, because I'm preparing to go work a reptile expo this weekend, and I'm finishing up some scripts. And just before we went live, somebody sent me a request saying, "Hey, can you respond to this video?" And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I watched it with Arden, and hey, Arden, how pissed was I?
Pretty pissed.
Yeah. And so, yes, the answer is I will, in fact, be doing a response to that video. So good job. But I could go through, like I have on a number of weeks in the past, and just all the headlines, and I could address the seeming likelihood of war with Iran, whether it's to distract from the Epstein files or something else, or to support Israel and distract from their genocide or whatever. But I'm not going to do that. And I could go through the various news items on the various sick things being discovered in the Epstein files. I could talk about the fact there's more problems with ICE and whether or not they're actually pulling out of Minnesota or downsizing in Minnesota, or what's going on, or whether that will change anything. I could talk about changes in leadership at the CDC or the FDA's take on a respin take on mRNA flu shots. I could talk about the person who shot their ex-wife and kid in Rhode Island, and how the media seems to primarily focus on the fact that they were trans, because that's the thing they want you to be scared of, while ignoring the fact that this individual was right-wing, Nazi-tattooed, Trump-supporting MAGA person who was kicked out of the military after just a few months for not being a good fit. And probably all of those things are better indicators of whether or not they're likely to be unhinged and dangerous with a weapon than whether or not they were trans. But I've got my friend Ian on tonight, and Ian is getting ready to move out in the United States. And I'm going to address two brief topics and then get him in here to talk about the how and the why and what's expected and everything else. Stephen Colbert did something amazing. By the way, Stephen, Catholic. He was going to have James Tallarico on. James is a Texas representative running for office, and also a Presbyterian minister. Hey, religion. See, you thought it was all going to be politics, but nope. I'll do religious stuff on Wednesdays too. The FCC didn't directly shut this down, but they had made overtures in that direction. And CBS, who you should be boycotting, is an absolute shill for the Trump administration. Through their lawyers, they basically shut down the interview. Not for any reason, just for reasons. Now, we're worried that this might come back to bite us in the butt. And so Colbert put the interview up on YouTube. You can go watch it. You should go watch it. It was also covered by CNN and other news outlets. And perhaps more people saw it than ever would have if they would have just aired it. Let's be honest, broadcast TV is not really thriving. And once you make a spectacle of something, move it to the internet, and the cable news networks pick it up, more people are going to see it. And so the speculation right now is that they might have just handed the election to Tallarico, and possibly handed the nation to the left. As somebody who focuses on religion on most days, yeah, Tallarico is a Presbyterian minister, I believe, and the child of a Baptist minister, or grandchild of a Baptist minister. I can't remember which one. And they spent quite a bit of time in this interview painting this "I'm one of the good Christians" sort of message. The individuals who want to be and portray themselves as Christ-like. And there's been a lot of this messaging. I'm of two minds here, because I think the messaging is working a little bit, and I'm willing to acknowledge all day that Tallarico, like John Fugelsang and others, are definitely part of a softer, gentler, leftier version of Christianity that is pro-church state separation. And Tallarico pointed out that, it's not their job as Christians to force their religion down other people's throats. Yes, but it's still your religion, right? You're still providing cover for the people who use the same label and point to the same book, and who, by the way, probably have a stronger leg to stand on, theologically speaking. Someone in a post today, I don't know the person, we were friends, had posted something. For example, I like John Fugelsang. I would love to have a discussion. I mean, I called into a show once, but there were other people when he was debating. He was debating other comedians on religion, and they're not, generally speaking, tonight's guest as an exception, probably not going to be anywhere near as knowledgeable as John is on the subject. And by the way, I'm not as knowledgeable as John is on Christianity, despite all the years that I was a Christian. I mean, he was raised by ministers, but I know enough. And somebody today suggested that authentic spirituality doesn't require you to care about people's sexuality or this or that or all these things that the Christian nationalist far right do. And I was like, what makes you think there's such a thing as authentic spirituality? This was intended to start a conversation to see if I could get somebody to say, oh, here's what I mean by authentic spirituality. I don't know this person. I don't know. Are they spiritual? Are they one of these kind of lefty Christians or whatever? And so here's the message that I got back. Here I mean by spirituality what people do when they internally figure out what their deal is going to be with the world and with others, how they will find or create meaning, and how their approach to living and dying will be. This may or may not involve conventional religion, which tends more toward offering ready-made answers to predetermined questions. In some cases, this may be more of a work of pure philosophy. And by authentic, I mean that it's sincere and done in good faith with oneself, as opposed to cynically going through the outward motions of rituals and systems one doesn't actually believe in. What makes me believe there's any such thing as authentic spirituality is that people from any and all backgrounds do this in one form or another every day. It's authentic insofar as it's inwardly directed, honest, and sincere. Some approaches may be more sensible than others, but no one group quite has everything figured out just yet. Hope that helps. It didn't help. It sounded like it came from Deepak Chopra. And my response was, so in response to more claims about what true Christianity is, you respin it into an esoteric pile of sophistry about an honest approach to life that offers nothing of substance, has no clear tie or demonstration to the truth, and even note that no one has everything figured out without demonstrating that they've figured anything out. While using buzzwords like spirituality, which have so many different usages, they are useless. And they replied that they were willing to put aside their criticisms of Christianity to encourage off-ramps from Christian nationalism and this regime's religion of race war, if that's what you mean. At this point, people can pray to the Keebler elves if it means they reject white narcissism and importing Russian-style dictatorship. The post was locked down before I could post the clarification. So I figured I'd address it here since I couldn't comment. And I found it rather hypocritical that he was mocking the mic cutting that happened with Colbert and Tallarico on behalf of spirituality, and then cut my mic when I was getting ready to post this. I'm thrilled that there are folks out there who are better than their religion, but they haven't got a theological leg to stand on. They're inventing a new religion that allows them to be better people, but still cling to the label and support the worse versions. They're engaged in a cowardly, dishonest half-stepping. They are self-righteous and factually wrong. When you and others pretend that there's such a thing as authentic spirituality, you are now complicit in the lie, treating them like they're the ones who have discovered the true, authentic spirituality. You're now an enabler, and it's condescending, acting as if they aren't ready for the truth by patting on the head and saying, yes, that's so good that you got the better wrong answer. It's harmful, and it's dishonest. It's like congratulating someone for switching from cigarettes to a vape by saying they found the healthy solution. Now, I'll likely vote for Tallarico. I think currently, given what I've seen, he is the best option and has the best chances of winning. Not just the lesser of two evils. He's genuinely a good person. And I'll agree all day that his policies and views are better than the fundamentalist Christians and are largely in line with my own. But he's cherry picking, like so many others, and trying to portray the softer side of Sears in Christian terms. The one that might not send you to hell, the one that might not enslave you, the one that misunderstands what neighbor means in Scripture and how this is clear by verses that talk about the enemy and the opposition. And it's really, really easy to focus on Jesus. Open up your Bible, get the red letter version, read those things, forgive one another, turn the other cheek. You can rationalize away the bad or problematic stuff he says, how he's got a ridiculously antiquated notion of what should be permissible with regard to divorce. But also you're forgetting that if Christianity is true, he's God. He's the one who laid down the law in the first place and then said not a jot or tittle of it would change. He's the one that supported and endorsed slavery and never revoked or corrected it when he had the opportunity. Why doesn't the Sermon on the Mount say, when it says if a man lusts for a woman, he's committed adultery, and I say if a man even looks at a woman with lust in his heart, he has committed adultery already in his heart. I got that backwards. If you shouldn't commit adultery, but you've committed adultery if you even lust after someone who says something like that, that's great. Except that it doesn't make any sense. And lust is how most people find their partner at some point. I mean, not everybody is sexually motivated, but lust is a big part of it. But if he's God, he could have just included right after that, hey, by the way, I don't mean to be sexist. I don't mean to portray men as the only people worth talking about, and women are property, and women are the ones to be lusted after. You could lust after men, too. Jesus could have said that. Jesus could have said that he was okay with the gay. Jesus could have said, hey, you know what the Old Testament says about slavery? You guys got that wrong. I don't have time to explain to you right now how monumentally you misunderstood what that was, but I'm here to correct it now so that it doesn't continue and so that it becomes very clear, so that in a couple thousand years in the antebellum South, they don't use the Bible to support enslaving other people. We can work with good people who are better than their religion without pretending they have the true version. We don't need to pretend that there is a good version of Christianity that is the true one or the right one, that there is something that is spiritual and an authentic spirituality. We can just be better, do better, work on better. You don't have to coddle people. You don't have to pretend that they're incapable of understanding. You don't have sufficient evidence to believe this is true. But if this motivates you to do something good, until you can find a better motivator, I'm at least glad you're doing good. But I'm not going to pretend that it's because you've discovered the true or authentic spirituality or the true Christianity. The Reverend Barry Lynn used to be the head of Americans United for Church-State Separation, and he was a minister. He and I've told this story a bunch of times, so I'll keep it short. He and I were both speaking at the Secular Student Alliance Convention, and I spoke right after he did, and I said that my goal is to free the world of religion, but Barry Lynn will be the last one that I want to focus on because I need him as a believer standing beside me so that we can work together towards church-state separation. And I don't need to pretend like he found the true religion. I don't need to pretend like he found authentic spirituality. All I have to do is acknowledge that he rightfully supported church-state separation, and so does James Tallarico. And he did it very clearly. He also supports the kinder, gentler. Let's be good to people. Let's not bash people. Let's not codify our religious views. It would be very nice if people didn't have to pretend to be religious to get elected, but they might. And it would be very nice if good people would recognize that they don't need their religion. I'm not saying anybody, I'm not making any claim that anybody's, like Tallarico's faking it or anything else. No, I'm saying that the biblical view, which is all you have to go on, apart from your personal revelation, which you can't demonstrate to anyone, is not consistent with the left. It's not consistent with the LGBTQ friendly people. It's not consistent with any, but no, Jesus said to feed the poor. Yeah, that's what the book says. Is that the true Christianity? But if it is, then he's God and he's okay with slavery too. You don't get to just pull out the red letters and say, these particular parts of the red letter things are the ones that are the true religion. Because where's your prophecy for the Messiah? Where's the law that Jesus says will not change? So once again, I'll work with almost anybody willing to do good. We don't have to agree on which movie is the best. We don't have to agree on whether there's a God or which God is real or what spirituality is or whether there's a real spirituality. If you're someone who genuinely wants to make sure that people aren't living in poverty, people aren't living in fear, people have basic human rights and dignity, people aren't being targeted, people aren't being killed in order to make the rich richer, I can work with you. But I shouldn't have to and shouldn't want to pretend that the bullshit you spout as a rationalization for the good you're doing is in any way necessary or true. The good is good enough. A friend of mine, Chris Johnson, did a documentary. We'll be doing a show with Chris coming up because he's done another documentary, but I don't know if you can even still get it. It was The Atheist Book, if you went to theatheistbook.com, but it was about meaning and purpose in a life without a God. And as I pointed out in that documentary, life is its own reward. Having a good life that you had a hand in participating in to guide it to whatever extent you did, that is the reward. The notion that you need to dangle a carrot in front of someone or threaten them with a stick in order to get them to care about other people doesn't make for better people, and it doesn't make for a better life. Joining us tonight, Ian Harris, who is about to become an expat, is joining us today. How you doing, man?
I am hanging in there. I'm doing good. I could not agree with you more on your own sermon there. I'm good, although
That's
I do
why you're
apologize.
here.
I'm sitting on lawn furniture in my living room because there's no furniture. We shipped it all to Ireland.
I would say I have a friend here who doesn't have furniture. We should give him furniture. That's the simplistic notion of that. I noticed your shirt says fuck racism.
Does.
I got good shirts this week from Christy Burke, who's running for office in Tennessee's 1st District with her Jezebel Bible stuff. I got one for me in Arden that says ICE is a terrorist organization funded by your tax dollars, and another one that just says anti-fascist. But you've sold your house, you bought a house, you've shipped your stuff to your new home. Why? Why are you leaving, and what are you expecting?
I mean, it's honestly not it's not as simple as an answer as because America's gone down the toilet, although that is a huge factor. My daughter went to school there. She's finishing. She has 2 years of school, well, 1.5 years now, finishing school in Cork. I work in the entertainment industry, as many people know. I write and direct. My daughter's an actress, and all the work is going over there. So I convinced her to go over there and her agents and managers said, hey, everything's being filmed over there, Ireland, the UK, it's all so they convinced her to go over there. And then my wife and I went over in September to get her set up. And we were living in an Airbnb, like in a bedroom in an Airbnb, by the way. Like it was a 4-bedroom house with people coming in and out every couple of days in the other bedrooms and a shared space. And we were just in one room, no TV, just my computer and a bed and a teapot. And after a month of being there, walking into town, getting our daughter set up and to various things, and this is September, we just felt so much different. Not just that we love, European culture and Irish culture specifically, and walking and doing all those sort of things. We weren't obsessed with what's going on daily. We kept it in, we kept abreast of what was happening. We were looking at some of the news and we were following some stuff, but it didn't consume us, and it felt just something. The stress level completely dropped, and my wife and I both were like, "Wow, we are content living in a bedroom with a bunch of other people coming and going and whatever, just because of how we feel right now." And we'd always talked, like, for years about maybe, when we get a retirement age, selling our stuff and moving over there somewhere in Europe. Ireland is where we were always kind of looking. And then we just said, screw it, let's do it now. And luckily my wife's company is over there, so she might get transferred, although we're at an age where she could early retire. She's been with the company 20 years. She's at an age where she could retire now. So we are currently figuring out, is she retiring, or is she going to find a transfer job over there that helps us with our visa situation? But either way, we sold our house. And I mean, things are kind of expensive in LA. I mean, in Ireland, it's not LA or New York expensive. Houses are not cheap, but they're not super expensive. But with what we sold our house for here in Los Angeles, after owning it for 23 years, we were able to buy a house over there outright. So we have no mortgage, and we have, we're just excited to go. And I know it's super privileged, by the way. So I've had a few friends already call me out on, on social media, like, "Hey dude, we get it. You're privileged. You bought a house 23 years ago and you sold it, and you don't have to." I get it. But yeah, we also had to endure living in one of the worst neighborhoods in Los Angeles for many, many years, and worry about drive-bys and shootings and all this sort of stuff for the first 10 years we lived here before the neighborhood got nice, to have a house that we could sell and make a profit on, that we could move to. So all of that, on top of the fact that, when people ask me, especially over there, everyone goes, "Oh, why are you moving over here?" And they all wink and nod because they know why I'm moving over there. And I just say, chasing democracy, bro. Chasing democracy.
What's been I know you're not over there yet, and so it's going to be great once you're over there and kind of steeped in it, but your daughter's been over there for a while. What is your impression of how the news is reporting about the United States, and how the people that you're likely to run into there are viewing the United States, and how's that changed?
It's funny because I find that they don't get all the news that we get, in that a lot of times they're surprised when I tell them stuff that's going on. A lot of them have not a full Fox News view of stuff, but I was asked a lot of questions like, "Oh, I heard that, Los Angeles is on fire." And I'm like, no, it's not bad at all. There's a couple small, so they hear that news. But at the same time, there were very few people that were Trumpers. There's a few. You always get the right wing. When we were there a year ago. So we were there twice this year. April, we went last April for my daughter's auditions. She's an actress, so she went to going to acting school. She had to do auditions. She went to three different schools, two, three different schools, and interviewed and auditioned. So we went out there for a couple of weeks to do that. And during that time, in last April, there was a far right demonstration there. It's like everywhere in the world after a pandemic, after a major world crisis, when economies are bad, you always get the rise of these anti-immigrant people. It's happening in the UK right now. It's happening in France, happening a little bit in Germany. It's happening a little bit in Ireland. But like Conor McGregor and the MMA guy had like this right-wing anti-immigrant rally while we were there in Dublin. And there was a few thousand people, and it was on the news, right wing, whatever. And he was like going to run for president. And he got like, I don't know, something ridiculous, 3% of the vote, and just was gone. And then the person who ended up becoming president is like a working class leftist woman. So despite the fact that when you go there, you will hear like a lot of anti-immigrant stuff there. They hate the Muslims and this and that and blah, 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 blah. The Pakistanis, kind of the similar thing that you hear from the right wing in England. It's pretty small and it's pretty fringe. And you'll talk to people and they go, how you doing? You okay? Man, it's crazy over there. Trump's nuts. What is going on with the Republicans? And at the same time, I'll say something to them and they go, whoa, I didn't hear about that. Like I'll mention something about, I mean, maybe they heard about the ICE thing, but this was before then. But there was a few things that I told them. I said, well, yeah, they just passed this law that got rid of this thing. And they'd be like, what? We didn't hear about that. So they do get limited news. And yet they're still on the right side of things, which kills me when I think about people here who have the information and can't figure it out.
Well, I haven't, so I've never been to Ireland. I want to go someday. My ancestors are from there, but not really. They were French Huguenots escaping religious persecution who went to England and then Ireland and then came over and formed one of the first churches that became foundational to the Southern Baptist Convention. So I'm at least partially responsible. Well, I'm not, but I have relatives that are partially responsible for that. And it used to be the name Dillahunty was used to be De La Hunt, and we don't know for sure if it changed in Ireland or when they got here to the United States, because there's so many things about it. You can't spell it right or you do whatever. And there's several varieties, but I would love to get over there sometime. I've been to the UK several times. So,
well, you guys are more than welcome to come. We have room. And I mean, it's beautiful. It's a lot of people have been saying to me like, oh, you're going from Los Angeles with perfect weather and it rains all the time over there and the winters are crazy. And it gets light at 10 in the morning and dark at 3 during the winter months. And I'm like, yeah, it's first off, I don't like it always being 120 degrees in January, like it can be in Los Angeles sometimes. I do like weather. The rain doesn't bother me. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be times where I'm like, mid-December and it's dark at 3 and I'm probably going to go, oh, this isn't great. But that's the least of my concerns. I just think the culture in general in all of Europe, but especially Ireland, they're so friendly. It's like the culture is just different, and politics doesn't. Maybe eventually it will with social media, but currently politics doesn't consume people there. And I was talking to somebody today about a friend of mine about how it's such an us versus them thing nowadays. Like you're in an argument. We were talking about how people do that thing where they go, oh, but you're a hypocrite too, right? Give an example. Like you say, oh, well, Trump's a womanizer and he's cheated on every wife and blah, blah, blah. And people go, oh, well, you didn't have a problem with it when Clinton did it. And you're like, well, first off, I did. But second of all, but you had a problem with when Clinton did it. So if I'm a hypocrite, you're a hypocrite. And they just go, right. So we're both hypocrites. And my friend was talking, and I were talking to him, and he goes, yeah, because they just want to say they won. Like that's all. Their side can call you a hypocrite. And it's like, it's so bizarre how we've gotten that way here, where it's like it's such an us versus them that they will flip-flop on pedophilia just to be on their side. I don't see that over there. There's politics and there's some extreme people and there's this and that, but it doesn't consume their lives in a way that it's like it's life or death, and they don't take the vast majority doesn't take extremes. Like I feel like nowadays here in America, or as I got to start calling it the States, because nobody calls it America over there. The right especially has become the extreme is now the majority. The crazy rhetoric that used to be like, yeah, well, there's only a few people that are that nuts with their religious beliefs or the obsessed about trans rights. Now it's the entire freaking party. It used to just be a fringe.
I kind of disagree, or at least I hope you're wrong. I think there's been a sea change in things that we could get the right and left to both agree were problematic. That agreement is getting more difficult, but I'd like to think that that you have a portion of the right that is the extreme and loud and vocal, and then the other part has been made through misinformation and propaganda, so absolutely terrified of the left and what they think the left is doing, that they absolutely feel like they got to support, like hold their nose and support the right, or, and now it's all about, well, I don't believe that. Well, I don't believe that. There's I'm going to do this and then jump into some calls. So if you're on hold, stay on hold for just a minute and we'll get to you right away. By the way, if you're not, you can call 720-619-2288 and you can defend your religious views or your MAGA views or have a discussion or whatever. But there's a YouTube channel podcast, I think it's called Necessary Conversation or something like that, where a couple of left-leaning kids sit down with their ridiculous, cartoonish MAGA parents week after week. I find it to be complete bullshit. It is reality TV, and like if those were my parents, they would be completely cut from my life. They have no interest in reality.
Yeah,
it is sitting there watching, the dad just, well, no, let me tell you what communism is, can't define it. Let me tell you what communists are doing, gets it wrong. And when he starts complaining, the bit I saw the other day was, like, oh, they don't want people to vote. And the kids are like, hang on, what about the SAVE Act? That's happening right now.
right.
And it is the right that is doing things to make it more difficult for people to vote. And their complaint is the left wants everybody to vote. How is that consistent with what you just said? Yeah. And it's all degrees of being wrong, but it is. We can't trust anybody. I don't believe the news. I don't believe the scientists. I don't believe the reports. I'm just going to go with everybody's doing their own research, which is less effective than flipping a coin.
Well, I think too, though, that there's this thing that, and this one happened today and yesterday that with Mamdani, and how whatever people think about him, I like the guy. I don't think that he's the savior of the world. I think he's got some stuff that I'm not super stoked on, but he ran on, I'm going to do all these things and I'm going to need tax money to do it. And I'm going to tax the billionaires. He ran on that. He won overwhelmingly. People voted for him. Even right-wing people voted for him because he's a populist type, or he's a for the people type. And these Trumpers think they're somehow working class or whatever. And he kind of ran on that. And I see all these people today posting these clips that are short clips or just quotes of him saying, I'm going to have to raise taxes on everybody, property taxes, 9% or something like that. And he literally says, if you watch the whole thing, this is what I ran on. If this billionaire tax doesn't pass, in order to get this money, this is the other avenue that I'm going to have to get the money from. So if you don't want your property taxes raised, we have to push to get the billionaire tax raised, but you currently are protecting the billionaires, which means you're going to have to pay 9% interest. Yeah. And all they're sharing is, haha, we told you he's here. He says he's going to raise your property taxes by 9%. And it's all these gotchas. And I'm like, even from people that people that aren't right wingers that are kind of we told you he was going to raise your taxes. He literally said, if you don't pass the freaking tax that I told you was necessary, and you still want these programs, we're going to have to get the money by raising your taxes. It's a warning. He's not saying I'm here to raise your taxes. He's warning you. This or my policies don't have. And then if you don't raise taxes and he doesn't get the free buses and whatever, you're going to go, oh, you failed on your promises. Right.
This is the thing.
Like, it drives me batshit crazy that people are sharing this going, see, he's going to raise your taxes. That's not remotely what's happening. And they know it. And or they don't know it, and they're either dishonest or really ignorant, and it drives me crazy.
We're not doing a good job of teaching people how the government actually works and how the government should work. And so it becomes, let's do everything as a soundbite. Oh, you're not going to fulfill your campaign promises. Well, I'm not the only person that gets to make a decision. Just because you elected me mayor or governor or president or whatever, I don't, maybe president. Yeah, I don't get to unilaterally make decisions. There are checks and balances and everything else. And so you need to help me by electing the people who are going to work towards those same policies that you want me to implement. And you need to be calling people to say, I need you to be supporting our mayor so that he can implement these policies, because the only way I can meet my campaign promises if we don't get that support for the billionaire tax is this other thing. And then, of course, it just becomes misrepresentations passed out, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so we're stuck and mired in mediocrity or worse, and nothing gets accomplished that is good. Plenty of bad stuff gets accomplished because that's evidently really easy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really easy. I don't know why that's so easy, but it seems very easy.
All right. We got callers here ready to go. I want to make sure we get callers. So 720-619-2288. There's also a link down below this if you're watching us live where you can call in on the web link. Please, if you're calling on the web link, remember that your phone may go to sleep and you may need to tap it to wake it up. You may need to tap the browser to wake it up as well. There's also a delay. Please try to be patient. If we're interrupting to ask questions, it's usually for clarity. Just kind of bear with it and resist the urge, I guess, to pretend like we're sitting in a room together and I can see you nod and your uh-hus, because it adds a delay and does a ducking on the audio that makes me feel like, hey, you're trying to jump in and talk. We'll get there. We're doing better. All right. First up tonight, Robert from New Mexico, pronouns are him. Robert is spiritual. So maybe we'll find out what that means later. But comparing the plagues in Exodus and the natural disasters of today. Hey, Robert, how you doing? Robert, are you there?
My apologies.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Try again.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, we can hear you now. My bad.
Oh man, I was talking to myself there.
It's all right. I do that all the time.
Okay, so my story is I got sober on December 11th, 2019.
Congrats.
Okay, thank you. And in 20 years, I was by choice a vagabond, so homeless. I got to visit 38 states.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you. And
I don't know what you were contributing at the time, but seeing the world is generally a good thing.
Yeah, I was from Texas, and I wanted to get out and experience more than what I had seen.
Okay.
Okay, and in my sobriety, I found out that I like to write. I have a lot to say, and the one poem I want to touch on right now is when the Lord wouldn't send plagues and natural disasters, he was addressing the leaders of Egypt because of oppression, and even to this day, through the suppression of the vote, to continue the bondage of slavery, through minimum wage and the right to work state, we can actually see you bearing your profits like the stolen treasure that it actually is.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that. What are you trying to get to?
It was just a poem that I wrote, and I thought I'd just try to get your opinion on it and see what you thought.
I'm not the guy to ask about poetry.
Okay, but thank you for your time.
That's it? That's the whole call? And he hung up.
Oh, that was weird.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to let that just be a throwaway, because the call supposedly said he wanted to compare the plague in Egypt, in Exodus, to today's disasters. Well, natural disasters, there's 20,000 earthquakes pretty much every year. It varies a little bit. But I think what his poem was saying was that God sent those natural disasters to punish the leaders who were not, or who were improperly subjugating their subjects. The thing is, what kind of a monstrous God punishes everybody for what the leader's doing when he could just punish the leader? I mean, I don't need to evaluate your poetry, because poetry is not my jam, or I don't know why anybody would care about that, but the substance of it is ridiculous. Yes. If God is going to send, turn the Nile to blood and send frogs and gnats and flies and kill off the livestock and hit people with boils and stuff, that was punishing the people. If I want to punish the leader of a country, Like if you give me God powers and say, we need to go after the leaders of a nation, those fuckers are dead right now. Like just snap a finger, they just disappear.
Little Thanos action.
Yeah. I don't, I am inevitable. I don't need to send locusts and darkness and kill off the firstborn in order to try to inspire the people to rise up and protest. I can just take out the problem because I'm God. I don't know how that relates to what's happening today, but don't get me wrong. I'm glad you're sober and I'm glad you're enjoying your poetry and your world experience, but I don't know what that was.
I know that when I was in high school, my football coach used to do that. If somebody else jumped off sides, he made us do sprints so that we would beat the crap out of the guy who jumped off sides. But I don't think that's a fair way to be God.
Yeah. That makes sense if you are a limited being who can't actually address the problem and you need to inspire, when I was in the military, is somebody fucked up? Because you're in a unit working together, they would cycle the dog shit out of all. A cycle is basically make you stand there and run in place and, work yourself until you passed out. They cycle the dog shit out of all of us in the hopes that we would, within the legal limits, whip that person into shape when they weren't around, because our lives are going to depend on that person even when the company commander's not around.
Right.
And there is a context under which that makes sense. I don't buy into that context now. I did 8.5 years in the military, and I think there's a load of bullshit tied up in some of that. And in much the same way that I think we're in a civil war right now, and civil war just looks so different in 2026 that I don't think people would recognize it. But yeah, I don't know what that call was.
Yeah, that was interesting.
All right. Let's see. Tim is calling from New York. Tim's a DS pronouns are him, and something about white liberals and leftists are abnormal. Hey, Tim, how are you? Tim, are you there?
Here I am.
Cool. I can hear you now.
All right. So according to a 2018 American National Election Studies survey, and this was replicated in 2022, each race, Hispanics, blacks, Asians, have a slight in-group preference, and white conservatives have a similar in-group preference, while white liberals have an out-group preference, meaning they see every other group favorably and their own group poorly. So by that logic, white liberals are abnormal.
Okay, so what? Does abnormal necessarily mean bad or wrong? Why is normal the good one?
Well, typically yes.
I mean, if most people are selfish and concerned with their own welfare, and there's a group of people who are abnormal because they care more about other people's welfare because they see a bigger picture, isn't that a good thing?
Sure. However,
so what's your point and what are you objecting to? Because I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with being abnormal. You act like there's something wrong with being abnormal.
Hold on. Do you think it's a good thing to look at your own group through a negative lens? Yes, you should be a little bit favorable towards yourself because you need to protect your family. You need to protect.
No, I don't.
And you should have a healthy self-image as well. You should have a healthy self-image, and that's part of who you are.
I have a healthy self-image, and I do protect my family. What I don't do is think that my family or the white people or the people who are my ancestors are great people who never did wrong and who don't have unfair advantages. That's simply not the case.
Well, can I ask a question too? Like, why is that your identity? So, like, the fact is that you're saying protect my family. A white guy who lives on my street isn't my family any more than a black guy or a Latino guy on my street is my family. So what is the identity with white people? If I can look historically and say, hey, Romans were assholes, or whatever group I want to put out. And in this case, if I'm like, hey, white Americans typically haven't been good to other people, that doesn't mean I'm not down to protect my family. It means I'm identifying a group of people that historically weren't good to another group of people. But my question is, why do I care? Like, I hear this all the time from these replacement theory people. They go, that whites are now 39% of the population in the world, and eventually it's going to be zero, and it won't affect you at all. It doesn't. Right now, there's no, not like a cutoff of you've got 100% white and this guy's 100% black. Who cares in 1,000 years? If they're what race looks like on the planet, it won't affect you. It won't affect the people that are living there because it'll just be what it is. So what is this idea that I have to have some sort of allegiance to people whose parents looked like me and fucked? Like, I don't understand why I have to have allegiance to them.
Sure. I think it's taken to another level by the fact that it's not just a neutral opinion, it's a negative opinion.
No. Tim.
It's
Ian
not a
asked you a
neutral
question.
opinion. Hold on. Why does it matter? Let me tell why.
No, Tim, you're not going to tell me to hold on my show. We're not advocating for any particular view. But if a neutral opinion is not deserved, then you shouldn't have a neutral opinion. If in fact your group that Ian's asking you, why should I care about this group? And you're saying, well, it's not just a neutral opinion, it's a negative opinion. Okay, why should I not have a negative opinion of members of a group who have unfair advantages?
Let me answer his question first, because he asked me why.
I wish you would have. I wouldn't have interrupted you to get you back on track. So Ian's question, Tim.
Can I answer his question?
No, first you tell me what his question was, Tim.
He said, why does it matter when all your race will disappear at some point? Well, I'm first of all, I can look 30 years into the future when white people are a minority, or a small minority even. If every group has a preference towards their own race and white people do not, then who is going to do shit for you? You will be the odd man out.
I don't care, Tim. You're
avoiding the
question.
No one's going to care about you.
Tim, people do care about me, Tim, because I'm a good person, not because I'm white. Ian's question was, why should we care more or equally about people who look like us? That was the question.
If only because if every other group is favoring their own group, then if you do not favor your own group, at least to advocate for them, for equality even, then who's to say you cannot be subjugated? If everyone else wants something better for their own in-group.
My group is good people, irrespective of their race.
But why are you picking skin color, not
they feel
eye
that
color?
Same way.
I don't care about the stats.
Favor their own people.
No, I'm sorry, Tim. You are using flawed stats. I said my group is good people, irrespective of their race.
Where are your good stats?
Tim, interrupt me one more fucking time, I dare you. Show me the study that compared good people to bad people.
Oh, yeah, okay, good people. In your made up definition of what good people is.
Well, your made up definition of what white people is. Well, again, what or any group.
Yeah. But you know what white people are. Why not know what white privilege is? How do you always know what it is when you want to say who has privilege? So when you want to have any positive opinion, then you have no idea. No, I can't figure out. Oh, where are the lines? Where do you draw the line?
So
you
do you agree
when
or
you're blaming
disagree?
people for white privilege?
Do you agree or disagree?
White privilege?
Do you agree or disagree that there's white privilege?
Every group there's privileges to other races too. There's favorable stereotypes towards other races too. There's privileges to different
stereotypes are not privileges, but
and by the way, we're not blaming people for their privilege. We're talking about acknowledging and using privilege and not taking advantage of it. And so I don't necessarily know that it's the case that every category of people has privilege, but can we divide the world into people who have more privilege and less privilege?
Sure, and that's going to vary based on where you go.
Okay. If what I'm advocating for, Tim, is reducing the people who have too much privilege and helping the people who have too little privilege, how is that a bad thing? And why is race relevant to it?
in that broken down sentence, that seems fine. If you want
Thank you.
everybody
So
to
you're
be equal, if
agreeing
you
with me,
truly
but I
wanted
asked
that,
why is race? I asked why is race relevant to that?
why is race relevant to that? Why is race relevant? Because, yeah, like you said, in different places or in different spheres, different people have different privileges. I do agree with that.
So,
Okay.
so you're the one calling in. I'm sorry, and let me
No,
just
go,
finish this up, and then you can get back in. You're the one calling in who mentioned race and talked about race. My position isn't that race doesn't exist. I mean, it's a social construct, but it's not that it's ignored. It's I'm focused not on shitting on white people or doing what I can to help Black people or Hispanic people. My position is use the privilege that I have to help the people who are underprivileged. And you just told me there's nothing wrong with that. So what is your
Sure,
point
help them
that I
based
should
on
care?
their
I'm
size.
sorry. Why the fuck are you talking when I'm still
Go ahead.
talking? And I just said that Ian's up next. You're really bad at this, Tim. We've gone down this road before. Let's let Ian ask his question, and then you try to say something relevant.
Well, I don't mind just answering Matt's question either, but I guess my question also is, you keep saying, but if these other groups are advocating for themselves, again, I reject the premise that my group is based on my skin color. My group might be, like Matt said, that good people. My group might be comedians. My group might be MMA fighters. My group might be people who live in South Central Los Angeles. I don't know what my group is, but it's not necessarily just my white skin. But especially me, I'm mixed. So I have, but what is my group? I don't know. But my point is this: if you're saying that group A, B, and C all advocate for each other, and therefore if we don't advocate for ourselves, we're going to be discriminated against. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I don't know that advocacy, that the converse of advocacy is discrimination against other people. Now, perhaps you could say historically, white people have discriminated against other people. Cool. And maybe you're afraid, like, oh no, if the shoe's on the other foot, they're all going to come after me. That might be a valid point. But I don't know that just because Latino people are like, hey, let's advocate for Latino people, that therefore that means that I'm going to be, sorry, my dog, that means that I'm going to somehow be discriminated against just because they're advocating for themselves. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, is it? I mean, if you advocate for white people, does that mean that you're advocating against others?
If at some point there are so many resources in the world, so things are to a degree a zero-sum game. That's simply true. If you're distributing a finite amount of resources and
What amount?
funds, etc.
What amount?
If one group says, I want
what
extra
amount?
because of my race, because I'm black or I'm Hispanic, X, Y, anything else, then by definition, someone will have to lose out.
Okay.
Wait, what? Why? I still don't understand why someone would have to lose out, and why would they necessarily lose out based on skin color? Like, and how white is white? Like, I mean, what?
Sure. There's many groups. Like, we belong to many groups, not just a race. And
maybe the group that's going to lose out are the racists.
Hold on. How so?
That's what you're really afraid of,
And
Tim.
I'm not
You're
saying
afraid.
to be
You're
racist,
afraid
but I'm
that
saying
you're afraid. You're afraid that you're going to lose out for the consequences of being a racist.
No, because every other race is racist themselves, and the stats bear that out. And they have favorable treatment
Oh my God!
towards their own people.
It's basic fucking logic.
Single country. That's how you.
It's basic fucking logic. You are sitting here accusing all the other races that you aren't a part of. They're all racist, so it's okay for you to be racist, but you don't want to be punished for being racist. Well, too bad. I'm going to punish you for being a racist every time you call.
Wait, but how are the other groups is equally as racist? I think everybody in the world. Sorry, I think everybody in the world has biases.
Is La Raza racist? Is La Raza racist? How are the other? There you go.
You mean Latino people? You mean Mexican people? What do you mean by La Raza?
Western United States into New Mexico, and it's based on their race. They say it's the La Raza.
No, la raza means
There you go.
the race, but it's about.
Yes, the race.
Okay. All right. Hold up. You have to understand, and this should be pretty obvious. I don't know why this isn't obvious, but when somebody, first off, the word pride is the most ridiculous. Again, to me, people think pride is the antonym or the opposite of not ashamed. Not necessarily. That gets used incorrectly by good groups, by the way. But people go, why can there be gay pride and black pride and La Raza, but there can't be white pride? Well, when one group is historically oppressing the other group and the group that is on top that has the privilege, then and other groups are subjugated, when they say pride, what they are saying is we are no longer ashamed of being this. We are standing up for ourselves and saying, hey, you're not going to belittle me for being X, Y, or Z, and I am proud of this. I am standing up. When white people say, I'm proud from the top, it is by definition a superiority thing that there's white pride is not like, hey, quit subjugating poor white people. They're saying, we're better than you. That's literally what white pride has always been, a right-wing, neo-Nazi, racist trope. That's what white pride is. When gay pride, I think it's the wrong word. I don't like the word pride. Black pride, gay, I think it's a horrible word because we use it incorrectly. And I think pride usually should come from as Carlin used to say, why are you proud of being Irish? Because your parents were Irish and they fucked? Okay, that has not an accomplishment you did. So I don't know what you're proud of. I'm proud of the grades I got in school because I did those. I'm not proud of the skin color I am because I had nothing to fucking do with it. So I think it's a dumb word. But the fact is that when people who are subjugated classes are saying they are proud, they are standing up against the oppressing class saying, I am not ashamed of who I am. That is the difference. So I don't understand how that makes them racist. That doesn't make them racist.
When Louis Farrakhan says white people are a race of devils that need to be put to rest, he is not asking for equality.
Louis Farrakhan's a nut.
Man, there's no scandal. He met with Barack Obama. No big deal. He's allowed to meet with the man who says whites are a race of devils that need to be put to rest.
Trump met with Putin.
That is not advocating for equality.
Well, no, hold up. You can meet with he met with someone to hear his voice and his grievance, as he should. Now, Farrakhan.
I'm meeting with you right now, and you're a racist piece of shit.
Meet with KKK members.
He has met with KKK members. I'm meeting with you, and you're a racist piece of shit. People meet with people they disagree with. People try to change people's minds.
He was endorsed by David Duke, and he didn't denounce the endorsement.
There were fine people on both sides.
Go ahead.
But in any case, I don't give a shit about what Obama did or what Farrakhan did or what Trump did. I would like you to justify why you're a racist piece of shit.
I'm not answering a leading question there, Matt.
It's not a leading question.
You tell me why. Black Asians, Hispanics favor their own race.
It is a brute fact. It is a brute fact.
Why are they not?
It is a brute fact. It is a brute fact. You're a racist piece of shit, and you're the reason that I don't have to be concerned. No, I'm not. I'm not remotely the racist piece of shit you are. I don't have to worry about me protecting white people because there's dipshits out there like you who are going to protect me just because I'm white. And so I'm going to take that extra protection you afford me that builds my privilege up so that I'm in the safest possible position, and I'm going to spend it. Every penny, every ounce of privilege that you keep funneling my way because you're a terrified little child worried that someday the world might not be white enough or protective of enough white people. I'm going to take every fucking ounce of that and I'm going to use it and distribute it amongst anybody that I can to help boost us all, because at some point, your ancestors are going to stop pretending that you were the good representative of their group and that anything about this social construct of race needed to be protected at all. Pointing to Farrakhan is whataboutism. It's a fallacy. Pointing to you do it too That's a fallacy. I'm pointing out, you called in to say that white liberals and leftists are abnormal because they disproportionately oppose the privilege that their group has while others are trying to amplify it. And even to the extent that that might be true, the question became, why should any of us care? And this is the only, I'm going to bring you back. This is the only question I care about. Why should any of us care about preserving our socially constructed races? Why is blending towards equality a problem? Why should I give a shit about the fact that I'm white and other people are white and somebody's not? That's the question.
You obfuscated the point. The point was, why do liberals have a negative?
No. When I tell you I'm going to bring you back and you're going to answer my fucking question, I'm going to bring you back and you're going to answer my fucking question. You're here for your ritual spanking, Tim. We spanked you many times before. You clearly have a kink. Daddy Matt's spanking you. So the question that you're going to answer, and it's the only question you're going to be allowed to answer, is why should we care about preserving races? That's the question. Try again.
Not answering your leading question.
Okay. I'm going to put you on mute. Here's the thing. It's not a leading question, you complete dipshit. Your position is that white liberals are different. And because of that, we're at risk. And my point is, even if whites are at risk and blacks are at risk or Mexicans are at risk, whatever, however you want to divide it up, my question, which is not leading, is why should we care about racial risks? That's it. Try again.
Because if you do not police that behavior from everyone and not just white people, then that will lead to negative outcomes.
What is the negative outcome?
What is the negative outcome of people like Louis Farrakhan advocating for putting white people to rest?
I'm sorry.
You do the math.
What is the negative outcome of not protecting white people?
What happened in Haiti? What
is the
South
negative
Africa?
outcome of not protecting races?
Of not protecting who?
Races.
I'm not answering leading questions, Matt.
I'm sorry. You don't even know what a fucking leading question is. Your response was that if we don't protect the races, it will lead to negative outcomes. And I said
races or racists?
Races. RACES. What is the negative outcome of not protecting races?
What is the negative outcome of not protect? Well, ideally, you would, police every group and try to get them not to have an in-group preference. Not
Tim. Okay, Tim, I'm going to mute you because you're too stupid and you're not paying attention. Let's try this again. I asked why we should protect races, the concepts of race. We need to make sure that white people are protected. We make sure that black people are protected, however you want to divide up the races. I asked why we should do that. You said because there will be negative outcomes. I then asked you, what are the negative outcomes? And then we had to go through this multiple times because you don't seem to be able to give an example. If I don't work to change my view as a white liberal that you think is negative of white people, I am not working to preserve the white race, whatever the fuck that is. What are the negative outcomes of failing to protect the racial identities that you want to protect?
First of all, it's not about protecting the existence. It's about
Okay. This is so fun, Tim. I'm going to ask you one final time. Okay. You are calling in because you are concerned that white folks are more interested in protecting other races than they are white races. And this will lead to people not wanting to protect the white race when we become a minority. I'm literally asking you, what negative outcome do you think happens when I stop protecting anyone specifically or group specifically because of their racial identity. That's the issue. Let's try it again.
Matt, stop twisting negative views of your own people.
Okay. You don't get to tell me who my own people are, you dumb piece of shit racist. I'm asking you, what is the negative outcome that you think will happen if I continue to be this bad white liberal that you think I am? What is the negative outcome?
Then white people could be a discriminated minority.
Okay. Listen very carefully. You think that white people could become a discriminated minority. Are other racial identities discriminated minorities now?
By the government or by who? By individual.
Wow. You know,
By your definition. By
It's
your
cartoonish.
definition.
It's cartoonish how you knew exactly what you meant by discriminated until I asked you. You are so fucking dishonest, Tim. It's embarrassing. First of all, I have no interest in preserving white people, whatever that is. But what you're describing is a fear that you have that someday you'll be discriminated against. Not that and really, you being forced to be viewed equally is already discrimination compared to the current status. But your fear, the negative outcome, is that you will lose privilege. You don't deserve privilege. Nobody deserves privilege. But racist pieces of shit definitely don't deserve privilege or protection. You deserve your free speech and your right to have your views. But when I say you're calling in to complain that what we're doing is making the world worse, and you already agreed with me that I'm actually making the world better. So tell me what I'm doing to make the world worse, and how will it become worse? There we go. That's better.
You are allowing every other group except white straight men to get away with bad behavior.
I don't allow anybody to get away with bad behavior. I'm assuming you're a white straight man, and I'm fucking calling you out like clockwork on your bad behavior and your stupidity and your racism. I don't give a shit if somebody's straight. I don't give a shit if somebody's white. I don't give a shit if somebody's a man. You fragile little bitch. Now tell me how me supporting equality, diminishing privilege, or working to spend privilege to help those who are underprivileged, how does that make the world worse?
You frame every question to make yourself look like an angel.
I don't have to do any framing. You're an idiot who's a racist. I'm literally just asking you, how am I making the world worse? And you said, I'm going to make it worse for straight white men. Well, okay, so what?
I don't. In Haiti, when they killed everybody, was that a good thing? Is that a liberal paradise?
You going to answer my question?
Well, why must you, every time that you say the question, you need to frame it to make yourself look like some kind of savior?
I am some kind of savior compared to you. You're trying to destroy the world. I'm asking you. I'm sitting here
trying
supporting.
To destroy the world.
Yes, you are trying to destroy the world for everyone who isn't a straight white man. You're going to wind up really lonely unless you really like cock.
Save yourself by eating a fucking salad, bro.
But
wait a minute. What's that mean? Eating a salad?
I want you to be healthy because I care about.
No. You're a fucking liar, Tim. You're a fucking liar, Tim. So first of all, you're not my doctor. You're not my dietitian. You don't give a shit about my health. This was you taking a shot at me when you don't even know what you're talking about. I'll eat what I want, including your mom's pussy. Anyway, tell me how we're ruining the world, Tim.
Let me ask you a question.
Nope. Tell me how I'm ruining the world.
Okay. Because you are allowing an environment that could lead to people based on their race being mistreated and possibly killed.
No, I'm not.
So hold on. I gotta get this straight, dude. So you are saying that if first off, I want to know what your timeline is on this. You think this is going to happen in your lifetime? You think that white people are just going to die or change colors while walking down the street, and all of a sudden, bing! Tomorrow I'll be a black man, like a gay black woman. Like what do you think is going to happen? It's going to take generations. You'll be fucking long dead. First of all, so it won't affect you. Second of all, I don't understand. You keep saying these things like, well, if you believe that that your group should have privilege, therefore you're racist, and then you say that's why white people need to believe their group should have privilege. So you're saying that it's racist for a Latino to believe that, or a black person to believe that, but that it's not racist for a white person to believe that. And when we are liberals, as you say, are not being that, that's the wrong position, because the other position is racist, and that's going to lead to racial discrimination of white people. But wouldn't that mean that that's happening in reverse now? So are you willing to admit at least that those other groups that are now advocating for themselves are experiencing racial discrimination? If that's not happening, then why the fuck would it happen in reverse, you dipshit?
Because the Western world is still has a sizable portion of white people. But if those groups become the overwhelming minority, why would they not impose their will?
Yeah, you're afraid they'll act like you.
Our will?
You're afraid they'll act like you.
Right.
Yes, we did impose. Yes, that happened. Yes, that did happen.
Is it happening right now? Is it happening right now?
No, because there's not.
Who's the majority right now?
There's push and pull. Let me tell you, the answer is push. There's push and pull. That's why. Because that's why you have 50 states with 2 senators each. Because if any one group had all the representation, then they would have absolute power. But that's why everybody gets some push and pull. But if white people don't deserve an equal voice to everyone else, or even to say that they're white and they get some kind of representation, then they will be.
How many senators are there? How many senators are there?
How many senators? There's 100.
100. What do you think the demographics of that Senate are? Do you think it's divided?
The majority of them are white. Sure.
Cool.
So
that's not an absolute. That's not. I'm not using an absolute.
Sure. The majority are white. The majority are men, and that's changing a little bit.
Do we have a whole world, or is it just here?
So are minorities now being subjugated and discriminated against because the majority of the government are white men? Would you say that's true or not, or false?
The majority. No, the reason why it's not is because white people don't have the same level of in-group bias. And the stats bear that out.
No, you just said it was which. You just said it was better. You said it was white liberals, but white liberals don't control the government currently. You said that was white liberals. You said that was a small group of white liberals.
If you combine those groups all together, even Republicans do not. They will not advocate for a white people. Trump does not say, "I'm doing this for white people."
Are you shitting me? Literally, their platform. Their platform is white nationalism.
Or white community. I've never heard.
It's funny that you are. It's funny that you are doing this on behalf of white people, and we're supporting equality. And you say that we're allowing people to be discriminated against on their race, when I'm actively opposed to discriminating against people based on their race. And so is the Constitution.
It's not.
You're the one in this conversation that is advocating for race as a criteria for discrimination, because you're afraid of what will happen to you.
No, I'm not.
Because
I never said there should be discrimination. I never said discrimination.
You literally have from the fucking beginning. Okay. I'm not a liar.
I did not say discrimination. I said every group should be able to have pride and representation. That's it.
Okay,
including white people, just like everyone else.
And is that not okay? So let's talk about LGBT community. They have pride It's literally their brand, pride.
Sure.
They're advocating for themselves.
I don't have a problem with it.
If the world became
I
majority
don't believe you, but go ahead.
gay, LGBT, whatever that means, whatever
Sure.
are you saying that because they've advocated for their own rights, things like being able to get married, certain things that are just advocating for basic rights, that therefore that necessarily means that as soon as they become 51% of the population, that they're going to force everyone else to be gay? Like, I really don't understand your argument.
Force everyone else to be gay. I don't.
Or whatever.
I don't
Like,
say that.
what exactly does that mean that they're advocating for
Are
themselves?
they going to get rid of straight
people
marriage?
Well, if they had expressed an open hostility and then became,
Are they going to get rid of
majority,
straight
then
marriage?
there would be a good risk that they would do something.
So you're saying that all the
I'm
other
not saying
races,
that gay people are doing that. I'm saying
so you're saying
hypothetically,
all the other
if
races
they were
are
expressing a hatred and then became the majority as they're expressing a hatred.
okay. So
then
you're
it's
saying
likely
so
that-
just let me get it straight. You're saying the majority of other races, race is a bullshit construct anyway, but you're saying the majority of other races in this country or this world aren't just advocating for themselves, but they are advocating against others, and they are pushing. They're doing what you just said the LGBT community isn't doing. You're saying that all these other races are doing that? Because I've never seen that. I've never seen, I'm sure, have I seen fringe people? Have I
you've
seen
seen
Louis
Louis
Farrakhan, who's a
Farrakhan.
fucking
You
nut?
have.
Sure.
You've
Do
seen
I
the
think
Hebrew
the
Israelites?
average, do you think the average
I've
black
seen the Hebrew
person,
Israelites
can I
on
really
the street
quickly, I'll
corner
just finish my sentence if you don't
preaching
mind.
that whites
Do you
are
think the
cavemen.
Here,
do you
I'm
think
going to
the
mute
average
you
ma-
since
do you
you
think
can't
the
fucking let
average
Ian finish.
Latino, do you think the average black person who's like, hey, we don't want to be discriminated against, do you think they're actually advocating? Do you think the majority are advocating to oppress and suppress and repress white people or other people? And again, other people, wouldn't you join together? I mean,
did I say that the majority would have to take it to that extreme for it to?
Okay, Tim,
yes.
Tim, I don't care because you're being dishonest. Both
Extremely.
myself and Ian have denounced Louis Farrakhan. Why do you keep bringing up Louis Farrakhan? Why do you keep citing an example and pretending like it's a systemic problem? And then when Ian asks you if it's a systemic problem, you pretend like you didn't.
Well, I mentioned the Hebrew Israelites who I've seen in person. So
Yeah,
I
me
didn't
too.
mention just
I've
Louis.
argued with them in person. They're racist pieces of shit. Just like you.
Yeah, and you're a fat piece of shit, so whatever.
But you think
Oh, see, that's why you said the salad thing. See, I knew
well, you
it.
can say what you want to me. You can insult me.
Oh, yes, I can. Did I tell you you couldn't call me fat? Call me fat. Call me fat. Call me bald. Call me ugly. Call me gay. Call me whatever you want. All it shows is that after exposing you as a racist with no good arguments, you came in for your weekly spanking and decided to lash out a little bit. I am fat. I'm way less fat than I used to be. I used to weigh about 270 pounds, and now I weigh about 195 pounds. And when I was dying of heart failure before I had my triple bypass, I was down to almost 185 pounds. So I'm, within 15 pounds of my high school weight. And you know what? I'd eat more salads, except that I had all my teeth removed, and lettuce doesn't go that well. It's kind of disappointing, actually. So I'll just keep eating whatever your mom cooks me. See you later, Tim. We've got some actual theists who may or may not be racist. I'm not going to prejudge them. But let's see, because there's actual theists here, and we always put theists at the top of the queue. We'll hit a reset button here, and Bob from California is a theist who'd like to prove the existence of the Christian God. So welcome, Bob. Yeah. You're on with Ian and Matt. How are you?
How we doing, fellas? How we doing?
I'm tired of racists, Bob. How are you?
Sounds like we're on speakerphone. That's not going to work.
Yeah, you got to take us up. You got to take. Well, it sure sounds like you're on speakerphone.
Well, I'm not. I got my headphones in.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
Is that better?
Well, don't be on the other side of the room from the headphones. It sounds really weird.
No, you're good. I just wanted to start by saying I've been a huge fan for a while, but I got to say you've become pretty fucking insufferable to listen to.
Cool.
So I just want to start with that.
I don't believe you, and I don't care. I thought you called into.
Now. You're a complete asshole. You just yell at everybody all the time.
Okay, I'm going to mute you. Since you called in for your spanking too, it says here you'd like to try to prove the existence of the Christian God. I'm going to unmute you, and then you can try and prove the existence of the Christian God. If you just called in to say that you've been a big fan, I don't understand why you're a big fan. And I'm less of an asshole than I have been in the past. You just heard me dealing with a racist just then. But you started off completely insufferable, Bob, because you've called 10 times. And all you did was say, hey, we reset the button, treated you nice right from the get-go, and you started off being an ass. Would you like to reset and try again? Would you like to maybe stop being the asshole by trying to call me an asshole when I didn't treat you badly at all? I welcomed you to the show. I laughed. I got your phone thing corrected, and I give you the opportunity to prove the existence of the Christian God. Something that, if you're a Christian, you are obligated to do, to give the reason for the faith that's within you. I don't recall anything in the Bible that says you should pretend that you're going to defend Christ and then call in and say that the person's an asshole when they haven't been an asshole to you. So here's a quick thing, Bob. I'm going to unmute you. Why don't you turn the other cheek, you little bitch, and do what you said you'd do? Welcome back, Bob's on the phone.
Nobody seems to call you out, so that's why I call, and I figured I'd try. None of your co-hosts ever call you out. Your girlfriend doesn't call you out. How old is she? 20? How old are you? Isn't that kind of crazy?
Isn't what kind of crazy? The fact that I got a girlfriend and you're just calling in with nothing better to do than be a whiny little bitch?
No, I said, isn't that kind of creepy? Aren't you like triple her age?
No, I'm not triple her age, but what difference does it make? Are you going to defend the Christian God, or are you going to keep being a fake caller?
Oh, no, I'm an atheist. I just wanted to tell you that.
That's what I thought.
Annoying. Yeah.
Okay, I got your phone number. Bob, say goodbye, bitch. Nobody cares. Bob's an atheist.
For the record, I'm 30, not 20. Yeah. Fucking weirdo.
It's all right.
Well, hey, yeah, that's a compliment. There you go. You look young, and that's all. I guess that's a compliment. Maybe the guy's sounds like a fantasy he's got. I don't know.
Wild. I'd like to defend the Christian God. Nope. I'm just an atheist who thinks you're an asshole and thought I'd say so. So you're a liar. Cool. Let's see. There's another theist on hold here, although this one's calling from, all these are calling from web addresses, so they're all dubious. But from Canada, friends of him, is it Rajat who wants our, is that how you say it, Rajat?
Yes.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. What's going on?
So my question to both of you is so I'm a left-wing theist. I want to ask you both, what are your thoughts on institutionalizing left-wing theology? As in, not just, the kind of, liberal neutrality that classical liberals or libertarians talk about. I'm basically talking about supporting LGBTQ plus rights constitutionally, I guess. I mean, using the state or power, using state power.
I think I'm not sure I understand the question, but I feel like you can be. I find those two separate things. I think I'm glad you're left wing. I'm glad you're for all those same things that I'm for, it sounds like. And I think advocate for that. And great. I think that's a completely separate issue from theology. I think those things don't have any. I think theology, whether you are personally left wing or not, has no place in a democracy.
Yep.
Period. Whether it's good theocracy, good people theocracy, kind of we were talking about earlier. What Matt had a really wonderful opening statement talking about. We were talking about Tallarico, and I love the guy. I think he's awesome, and I love that he's for separation of church and state. I think he's using his theology a little, or his religion a little bit, which I get because people, especially people on the right and certain groups of people, can't separate religion from politics. So I feel like there are Christians out there who are going to like, yeah, we like him. He's a Christian. We don't care about his politics, but he's a Christian. And I think that's smart in Texas. And I don't think he's going to put his theology into practice. I think there are people that are hoping he will, but I don't think he's going to do that. I think that those two things are incompatible. I don't think you can be for left-wing government and also want to institute any sort of belief system, because I think that violates the fundamentals of liberalism.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit about I'm sorry. I don't want the state.
Go ahead.
I don't want the state to institutionalize any theology. I don't care whether it's left wing or right wing. And I don't have a preference for left wing theology. I want whatever theology is true, demonstrably true, because all I care about is what's true. And as far as I can tell, what tends to be referred to as left wing ideology, whether it's theologically tied or not, is better for the world. And that's what I want. But I don't want the state institutionalizing theology, no matter what it says.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is, okay, so I'm a communist, and what I think is that it's more like making sure that people, the masses, right, they don't do this. They don't believe in sort of hateful stuff. So my point is like actively using the state power to educate people that if you want to believe, right? And again, I'm not saying like atheists or agnostics will or should be forced or anything like that, or incentivized or anything like that. I'm talking about like the people who are hateful, right? Who cause pain to others, who believe in like scary stuff like eternal hell and stuff like that, and anti-queer stuff. Also like misogynistic stuff like a woman cannot be priests and stuff like that. Yesterday or day before yesterday, I think I had a chat with Jimmy and Ari, I think, and what I'm saying ultimately is that historically, institutionalizing any view seemed to change the culture. Like you can change the culture using the power of the state for positive things. Like Constantine and Justinian, Emperor Justinian, used their power, right? State power, state force to make sure that the priests and like these bishops, they don't start like spewing. Justinian and Constantine, they basically enforce right-wing theology. I mean that. So I'm saying that by enforcing left-wing theology, which I believe to be true, right? Not just like a false thing, supporting for like utilitarian reasons, but like I do believe that left-wing theology is at least closer to truth than whatever right-wing theology has. Because I guess maybe you both can convince me out of this, but look, I just don't find that liberalism is actually capable of defeating fascism. I think active
I don't think so either.
Is required to the reactionary people.
I'm so confused because I don't think that either. But you asked about the state institutionalizing theology, And I'm completely opposed to that.
Well, what do you mean by liberal theology, by the way? What does that mean?
Left wing. I don't believe liberal theology.
Left wing,
left wing
theology. Apologies.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is like simply like consider like progressive Christians, right? So you see them, you know, being like chill, right? They are not like, you know, intolerant of queer people, intolerant of atheists, intolerant of like agnostics. So the point is like with right-wing theology, you have a kind of tension that is always there. And usually, like we are seeing the consequences of that in all liberal democracies. So like in India, let me give an example, right? India is a liberal democracy, but the right wing, as in like, you know, the majority of like Hindu people, they seem to be educated with like media and all that stuff with hating the minorities, right? The Muslims. And like the media seems to enforce right-wing views continuously, and of course it's ultimately done to distract people from the wealth of the capitalists, billionaires, and people, and sorry, corporations, big banks, right? So it's like that's what I mean, like by left-wing theology. It's not like, you know, much more than that, you know, I guess.
Are you using the word theology when you mean ideology?
Yeah, I mean, you could say, I guess, but I mean, theology, ideology, yeah, I mean, yeah, oh, sure.
Theology is religion. It's about God. Ideology is just principle.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah. Ideology. Yeah.
Okay. My objection was to the state codifying or institutionalizing theology. That violates the principle of separation of religion and government. I think the state should be promoting the truth and what's best. I don't see, you're like, oh, the left-wing theology, they're chill. One might say they're apathetic and part of the problem because they're not standing up to the fascists. I wouldn't call that chill.
So, I mean, they like historically, the progressive ones have been the minority, but they did stand against the fascists, right? Like slavery abolitionists, right? Like, so, I mean, I don't think that progressives or like reformist left-wing theists or even left-wing deists are a problem. Actually, I think they can be good leftists, very good leftists. Like there's like liberation theology, right? And
I don't know.
Christian communism, right? So I do not agree with you, Matt, that progressives or left-wing theists are like part of the problem.
You don't. Okay. All right. So is Hakeem Jeffries a progressive?
I would consider him like, I mean, so for communists like me, the word progressive is like, well, I guess I could say center left or maybe centrist or something, but like a liberal ultimately. Communists do not.
I don't
consider
okay.
liberalism.
Let's stop because I so fucking hate the labels.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out. You say you disagree with me, but I don't know that you disagree with me because I'm not advocating for progressives. I'm not advocating for liberals. I'm advocating for left policies and nearly a communist. And you're asking whether the state should be codifying these sort of left things. And my position is the only thing they should do is work for the truth. And I consider Schumer, a shill for Israel, and Hakeem Jeffries is an incredible, weak, spineless, problematic shill who won't call stuff out. I think they are part of the problem. Do you think they're part of the problem?
Yeah, I think that they are. Yeah,
And we agree.
communists actually hate liberalism. So like Hakeem Jeffries and like Amy Schumer, like they are Zionists or something. Like
Not Amy Schumer.
I am anti-Zionist, right? Like
Yeah, me
I
too.
believe that Israel is like committing genocide in
Me
Palestine. Yeah, so I think, Matt, I think you say you are near communists, and I think so. I would say that, are you like, I think democratic socialists, like the DSA in the USA, and like some of the more reform.
Yes, I tend to largely agree with them.
Yeah, so I would say, Matt, that is still like pretty close to liberalism in my view. Like I think
Okay.
Marxism, Leninism, the best form of communism.
Okay, I don't care.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I mean, look, I was. I guess
you called in. You called in to
not a
ask
debate,
my
right?
opinion about something. I didn't have you call in to give me a lecture on things that I'm not concerned about right now. All I care about is stopping the fascists and making the world a better place. What category I fit in and how whether I'm too liberal or whatever for you couldn't possibly give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a debate, right? Like as like I think this show's format is. Sorry.
Well,
yeah,
can I ask
my question?
What exactly? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But what exactly are you advocating or asking to do? Or are you saying the government, whomever that is, the United States government, the president, the Senate, the House, what would they be doing? Passing legislation? Would it be about some sort of re-education? Like, what exactly is it that you are advocating? Do I think that politicians should be on the left or lean? Of course, that's why I vote for them. Do I think that they should be pushing those agendas? Of course. Should we be educating people that what is correct and empathetic and proper to do the greater good for the greater amount of people? That's the thing. Sure, absolutely. But I don't understand. Are you saying that, like, in a totalitarian sort of a way, that we should force people to? I don't get what you mean by that. Like, you can't force people to believe stuff. We can try to educate them, but I don't understand what it is exactly you're advocating for. I am advocating for re-education, but consider the system in like Cuba, China, and Vietnam. I like that system, and there, they don't allow right-wing reactionary stuff to become famous or like cause any destabilization. So I'm saying that this is what Marxist and communists do, that we should take more active approach in countering reactionism, conservatism, right-wing stuff in general. When does that become propaganda? When does that become? I mean, because here's the problem with I don't want to go down the road with all these debates and all this sort of stuff, but you always hear, it's, since I was a kid, I've got the Communist Manifesto, I've read everything, I was all into the same sort of thing as you are, but you always hear the stupid talking point, which I understand that people say, communism, it's great on paper, but it doesn't work in reality. And my argument is always, all politics are great on paper and they don't work in reality. Capitalism, communism, all of them sound fine until the human element, not all of them, many of them sound fine until the human element gets involved, because human beings tend to get corrupt and fuck stuff up. So my question is, I don't like any group, even a group that I agree with, being in full control of the narrative and the news or the education. I don't want everything being completely controlled by any group, because all it takes is for that group to get so much power and go off their rocker, and all of a sudden they're not advocating the things that I want, or are best for the people. And we've seen that. We've seen good groups that start a certain way over time devolve into these horrible fascist regimes or totalitarian, authoritarian groups on the other side. So I don't know that I want any group having that much power over all of the information, even if it's information that I currently agree with. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think the answer is giving the government all of the authority to say what is correct and what is incorrect.
Well, like I would accept that communist countries have done mistakes in the past, massive mistakes, right? People died, famine happened, right? All that stuff happened. But it seems to me that comparing imperfect systems, right? I know no system is like perfect. Communist governments will make some mistakes. But when I see modern day China, like right now, when I see Cuba, how Cuba survived a crippling embargo for so much time, right? They survived that, and like Vietnam also surviving, and like even winning against the United States. So like it seems to me that there is a lot of propaganda in liberal democracies against actually existing socialist states. You know, it's sort of a CIA kind of wanted to do that, where they wanted the socialists to break apart, right? To not support countries like China, Cuba, Vietnam, Venezuela, and China, right? It's sort of like manufacturing consent or something. So. But okay, it's not a debate. I guess I've said enough. Maybe I should go.
I have a question. So,
yeah.
Rajat, it says here you're a theist. What God do you believe in?
Yes. I would say like I'm a Christian universalist, I guess you could see. Yeah.
What does your God think is the right government? And in that government, am I free to not believe?
Communist government is the right government, I believe.
That's what God thinks?
That's what God believes.
How do you know that's what God believes?
Moral intuitions and a little bit of scripture, I guess.
Okay. So moral intuitions and a little bit of scripture. Is that scripture the Bible, where it says that all leaders are God appointed?
Yeah, that's the Bible, but I don't believe some of the stuff in the Bible. Perhaps any stuff that seems like messed up or like dumb or weird, too weird.
So you
I don't believe that. I think
you use your personal feelings to override scripture when you don't agree with it.
Yeah, that's what everybody does. Conservatives do the same.
Okay.
Right-wing people do the same.
I agree.
Left-wing people.
I agree, but is that a path to the truth?
Well, I would say yes. I mean, like I
really
do think that
really. Hang on, Rajat, pause and rethink that. So everybody.
Yeah, all right.
Everybody comes to different conclusions by using their own personal preferences to override the scripture when they feel like it. And you think that's a path to truth. How many truths are there? Because I think there's one.
No, there is indeed like one truth, right? There is one reality.
And so how is it possible? How is it possible that the path to truth is to use your own opinion to override scripture, and it leads people to different conclusions?
Well, the conservatives and right-wing, I do think they are being more literalist about stuff.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask anything at all about conservatives or right-wing. I asked about a path to truth. You said that using your intuition to ignore scripture when you don't like it is a path to truth. we've already established
Yes.
that leads different people to different conclusions, and yet there's one truth. So how is that a path to truth?
Well, couldn't like moral intuitions disagree? Sometimes.
Not if they're not if it's a path to truth. How can there be more different if there's one truth and your method for finding it leads different people to different positions? How is that a path to truth?
Like, so what kind of truth are you like talking about? Are you talking about like moral truths or something?
No, truth. What is the best form of government? If you ask 1 million people what they think God thinks is the best form of government, and they all use their personal opinions to override any disagreement from others and from Scripture, and how many different answers are you going to get? Is it going to be more than one?
When like communist government like does what I want, are you asking
It's amazing. That? It's amazing how you avoid the straightforward, simple. If multiple people reach different conclusions by the same method, and there is only one right answer, how is the method a reliable path to truth?
The method of moral intuitions, right? You are asking about that, right?
No. Wow.
Scripture,
Rajat,
are you asking
listen,
about that?
Listen very fucking carefully. You advocated for your personal opinion overriding Scripture being a valid path to truth. If everybody uses their personal opinion to override Scripture and they reach different conclusions, how can you consider that to be a reliable path to truth if the same method, using your opinion to override Scripture you don't like, leads to different conclusions?
So let me repeat what you just said. You are asking me that you have different people using the same approach, like personal feelings overriding the Scripture, as you say, and that leads to different conclusions. Right? Are you? So did I correctly say what you are asking?
Well, you haven't got to the question yet, but yes, so far that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, like, how do you determine the truth here when there is disagreement like that? Is that the correct question?
You said it was a path to truth.
Yes. Yes. Moral intuitions are path to truth.
If my moral intuition disagrees with your moral intuition, and we ask 100 people and we get 100 different answers, how can it be considered a reliable path to truth if it leads to 100 different conclusions, but there's only one right answer?
Yeah, so that's like moral disagreement argument, right? Against moral realism or something. So
I don't need you to tell me what it is. I need you to stop avoiding the difficult question and fucking answer. Like, this is a 20-sided die that I'm holding in my hand. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 20 right now in my mind, and I'm holding this 20-sided die. If 20 different people roll this die, is it going to reliably tell you what number I'm thinking of? Yes or no?
No, and that's not similar to
no. Don't say anything else. You're done with anything other than yes or no for a minute. If the answer is no, then rolling this die is not going to tell you what number is in my mind reliably. You might get it right, you might not. Does that mean that rolling a die is a reliable path to reading my mind?
No.
No. How is that different from 20 different people's different moral intuitions reaching different conclusions when only one of them can be right? Isn't it the same thing?
No, it's not the same thing because it's not like a rolling die or something. It's not like people disagree on like hey,
Wow.
should we just randomly kill others?
Rajat, I don't care or trust anything you've said about anything. This is a straightforward, simple analogy where you've described a path to
It's
truth.
not a simple
And
analogy,
stop
though.
talking.
It's not
Stop
a simple
talking.
analogy,
It's an
though.
incredibly, stop talking. It's an I'm going to mute you. It's an incredibly simple analogy. You are trying to find out the truth. You're trying to find out what number's in my head. You say that your moral intuition is a path to truth, despite the fact that 20 different people can reach 20 different positions, and only one position is correct. Similarly, 20 different people could roll different numbers on that die and reach different things, but only one of them is correct. It is a direct fucking analogy. And when it comes down to rolling a die, you recognize that is not a reliable path to the truth of what's in my head. But the exact same thing, because it's not a physical die roll, doesn't matter. It's an analogy. What I'm pointing out is that you're full of shit. Your moral intuition is not a path to truth. Moral intuition is not a path to truth. Deciding to go with your opinion over scripture, over other people's opinion, is not a path to truth. There is no truth there that you can demonstrate. And if the same method leads to different positions when only one position can be correct, then that method is not a reliable path to truth. Where did I go wrong?
So where did you go wrong? I mean, so the method you are saying, like the analogy you gave of a rolling dice, which suggests like randomness. And what I would say is that it's not, the method is not like totally random or arbitrary.
Okay, stop. Let's try this again. We'll ignore the die. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 20. I'm going to ask 20 people to give me their opinion of what number I'm thinking of. Is that a reliable path to figuring out what number I'm thinking of?
No.
Okay. How then is it a reliable path to the truth on a moral issue?
On a moral issue, the method is moral intuitions. They are not totally random. They are not even near random.
Rajat, I didn't say anything at all about random in this new example. I said to give me their opinion, which is, no, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth and listen. Shut your mouth and listen. You literally said,
dude. I mean, come on, Matt. What are you saying?
I'm saying shut your mouth and listen. You literally said you use your opinion when over and prefer that over scripture when you want to, when you find that it's correct. And other people can do this and they get to different answers. That is functionally identical to me saying, what is your opinion of what number I'm thinking of? I didn't mention randomness. There's not even anything necessarily random about it. I'm using the exact same method. Your opinion is not a fucking path to truth. There is no demonstrated reliability of your opinion of what number I'm thinking of, or of your opinion of what's moral, or your opinion of what God thinks, or your opinion of what's a better government. I don't understand how you can be so knowledgeable about so many things and fail to see this obvious garbage position. Opinion is not a path to truth. Period.
So when you enforce rights of people, is that based on opinions, moral opinions?
I'm not answering your questions.
Okay, so it's same. It's just the degree. It's just difference in degree, not in kind. What liberals do, even
Rajat,
what you do.
Rajat, you don't get to talk on my show anymore unless you address this issue. And it's really simple. Is opinion a reliable path to truth? Yes or no?
Is opinion reliable path to truth? No.
Thank you. You earlier said that it was a reliable path to truth. when you
I
preferred
don't believe that. I don't believe that. Okay, I might have misspoke, but
you might
I
have
would say, like,
misspoke. We just
moral
spent
intuition.
fucking 15 minutes. Shut up. We just spent 10 or 15 minutes repeating the same thing over and over and giving analogy after analogy, and you fucking nitpicked all kinds of stuff. And I don't know how many times I framed this as you preferring your opinion over scripture and saying it was a reliable path to truth. Go fuck yourself, Rajat. We're done for today. Call me back another day when you cannot waste all of my time on something that you then, at the end of it, say you misspoke. You didn't misspoke. And if you did, you misheard repeatedly and wasted all of our time. Goodbye. This is really simple. You're the one that made the claim.
I also I don't even get, like, I was going to ask him, and I'm like, there's no point in me even chiming in on that, but I'm like, I kind of feel like he doesn't actually think there is any. It felt like he was saying, yeah, whatever you believe is cool, and I'm like, okay, great, but it's such a weird. I feel like he completely misunderstood his own opinion. It was very bizarre.
Yeah, he's also found his own version of Christianity.
Well, they all have.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And that was it. Oh, everybody does it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was how we started with this.
Yeah.
That's how we started with this. That's what everybody is. I agree that's what they do. The question is it a path to truth? Right. Nope, it's not.
Well, it's also not, if your religion, whatever your religion is, let's say Christianity, it's also not a path to Christianity. Like, I've never understood that. Like, if you either believe it, and I know there's, details and whether it's how you take it, is it literal, is it figurative, whatever. But I've never understood that as somebody who's an atheist, lifelong atheist. I've never understood how people can differ. I'm like, wait, this is the word of God. This is the thing that you're basing your entire life and afterlife on, and yet you don't even agree with it half the time. Yet you still say you are of that religion and you don't even agree. I've never been able to wrap my head around that. But that seems like that's like almost every single, I think it is every single religious person and Christian I know. They don't actually agree with most of the things in their own book, yet they still say that they are that thing. Don't get it. That's why I'm not a Christian.
Yeah. I mean, this was, I go with my opinion when I don't believe everything in scripture. Well, what do you use for that? Oh, my intuition. So you're just going with your opinions on that? Yeah. Okay, cool. Is that a reliable path to truth? Yes. Even when people reach different conclusions? Yes. I mean, it's bizarre. And then I come up with an analogy, and you're going to obsess over the fact that a die roll is random. Dude, for all you know, your fucking opinion is random.
Right.
For all you know, one electron escaped and was absorbed somewhere else. A photon hit you just right because of some kind of cosmic randomness, and that's why you have that opinion. Yeah. But okay, we'll get rid of the die roll and we'll just go with people's opinion. Here's what people think. Anyway, let's not. We got some other callers, and I don't want to saddle them with all the crap from everybody else. So, Mika, calling from Germany. Mika's an atheist, pronoun he, him. The sudden change of direction in Texas. How much does Matt think him and secular humanism contributed? Hey, Mika, how are you?
Hello, how are you? How were the last calls? Hope you're doing good. Right. Yeah, so my question was...
Go ahead.
My question was like, what do you think you contributed? Like, I think you're from Texas, right? Or like, what did you and the secular humanism movement contribute to the shift in Texas? Or is it maybe just because they voted for the vibes of Tellerico?
I have no idea. I don't remotely think that I contributed anything significant. I'm not even sure how much of a shift there is. There's a shift in the reporting, but I won't know till after the elections whether something's changed. And I don't know that I had any identifiable, measurable contribution. And I don't know that even secular humanists on the whole had any, apart from trying to keep a constant vocal, trying to educate and keeping the noise up, or trying to raise the signal to noise ratio. I don't know that it can be said we did anything.
I don't even know.
What I thought.
I don't even know if I trust. I mean, especially Texas, but I mean, most of the states, I find every year there's at least one or two people that are going to turn something blue, or I mean, it was Beto, and it was all these, and the momentum's there, and it's like it seems like it's happening. Like I mean, and who knows? Maybe this last election Trump did somehow cheat or something. But like I'm counting the numbers in like Pennsylvania, and it looks like it's more people turning out than ever, and yet it doesn't happen. And I see that with Texas. There was one last year with Texas. They're like, oh, it's close this year. It's going to be close. And it's like ended up being what, I don't remember what Texas was, but it was like 12 points or something. I'm like, that's not close. Like and Beto worked. Oh, he can do it. He won. He lost by like what? 10 points. He wasn't really that close. He might've been closer than some other people. And I feel like the same thing. I'm really pushing for Tallarico and for a few others, but I'm like, I wonder what happens. I wonder if it's all just media hype, or if people get to the polls and they go, nah, I can't do it. Or if it's like the Bernie effect, where people love going to rallies, but they don't love going to the voting booth, or whatever the deal is. I don't know. But it seems like every time I get my hopes up, especially in Texas, it doesn't quite perform the way everything says it's going to perform. And I don't know what that is. Anyway.
Yeah, I have no delusions. I know that there are people who I've helped change their mind on some stuff. I don't know that it's any significant portion of the population. I don't know that doing these shows has done anything significant other than allowing some people to realize they're not alone, and it's not, they're not screaming into the void. There are others here. But as far as what sort of identifiable contribution, we don't even know if there's been a change yet. I highly doubt secular humanism in any form had more to do with it than people being pissed off about people being killed, deported, rights being violated, that sort of stuff, which is consistent with the things we're saying. That's more important than anything I've said.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think, like, about the right-wing grift and the way it's kind of intertwined with religion. Like, in a way, people are told, like, you have to tolerate this misery for a momentary lifetime, but then you basically gain, you have heaven for eternity, right? And this is kind of the grift that I've seen, like, also by philosophers, like, since Plato, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they all tell, like, you have to accept the way that life is. Like, this is kind of like Stoicism started, and later there was like the bastardized version in during the Victorian era. And I think this is kind of used to tell people you have to accept your misery, and this is why they accept also, like, Trump doing the most heinous shit, and they just accept it because, like, this is just momentary, and we have to accept and go with this to defend our religion in order to exist for eternity or something. I think that's kind of what's going on behind the grift. What do you think about that?
I don't think most people would know what you're talking about at all, so I don't think that that's the reason on any sort of conscious level. But as far as manipulation goes, that could be it. I mean, we know that, for example, the rise of the quote moral majority and the co-opting of abortion as a primary issue turned a whole bunch of people into single issue voters and helped kind of promote the right for a long time. But it's propaganda, it's fear mongering, it's Oh no, they're trying to trans your kids. Oh no, they're eating the cats and dogs. Oh no, they're letting kids use litter box. Oh no, the left is crazy. Oh no, they're stealing elections. Oh no, don't believe the thing they say. It is a mix of intentional misinformation and the most ridiculously stupid. We have failed as a nation to educate people on even the basics of critical thinking, and I know that the last caller was from Canada, but and so Canada's failed too. But if you can think, hey, using my personal opinion is a path to truth with regard to what God thinks, but it's not a path to truth with regard to what Matt thinks, then the system has failed you, and I don't know how to recover from that. You are an idiot when you should not be. Like, it's not a matter of intelligence or IQ. It is absolutely some emotional fear lie barrier that's preventing people from seeing the obvious truth.
But it also, don't you think that kind of goes back to the first caller, Tim, the racist, with his question?
Yeah.
I mean, you find this all the time, and I don't have any scientific, I've read that there are studies about this, but when they look at the brains, and this is, I don't know if this is nature or nurture or a little bit of both, but when you look at brains and of conservatives and people on the left, people on the right, whatever you want to call them, again, the labels I never get. I thought liberal meant left, but I guess I'm wrong now. But where the things that we react to, one is fear and selfishness. One side is usually more of the empathy, and it's more of a me and a we type of a brain. And I don't know if that's, again, nature or nurture or what, but I feel like those issues that you brought up, Matt, especially when Mika's talking here about with people's, it's like a self-preservation thing. It's what the racist guy said earlier. Well, what about you and protecting you and your family and your race and this sort of thing? And there's, whether that's, I don't know what that's attributed to, and I don't know if that's a lack of intelligence or critical thinking, or if it's just the chemistry of your brain. But when all of your thoughts and belief systems come from I'm afraid and self-preservation, it's kind of difficult, in my opinion, to actually think globally, think about other people, think about the future. You're always, mired in this fear-based, selfish-based thought process, which isn't ever going to, in my opinion, produce anything substantive. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but that's what I keep coming back to. This is a giant group of people that tend to be religious, tend to be right-wing, that it's always about me, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to I'm afraid of this, I need my guns for this, and I need to, and that never works for good policies for humans, in my opinion.
Yeah. And there's actually a bunch of studies that show that conservatives have a larger amygdala, which is exactly what you were saying, basically. Like, it's the part of the brain that basically controls like the fear response and stuff. And this is why, the racists, like, they basically have the fear to be discriminated in the future, in the same way that they discriminate people in the present, which is just very illogical and irrational to do that. But like, that's the way that they are, I guess.
Yeah, we saw this tonight. It's frustrating, and I kind of wish it was easier to make this clear, but people in a privileged position in this society, if you start reducing that privilege towards equality, it feels like oppression. And the closer it gets to equality, the more they begin to worry, hang on, if I become the minority, are they going to treat me the way maybe I didn't treat them, but am I going to have to pay for the way other people treated them? And there's this, like, look at Trump. Every every accusation is an admission. And while there is zero evidence that, as a matter of fact, all of the investigations about the 2020 election show that there was negligible voter fraud, if any. And yet he keeps the story alive because that's what he would do, and that's what he's trying to do. If I would try to steal an election, I have to presume that they would try to steal an election. And if I know, and by the way, he's in this bubble of a world where everybody around him, he's surrounded himself with sycophants who tell him that he's awesome and that all his poll, I swear, I believe he believes his poll numbers are the best. I believe there's people there saying, no, don't worry about that poll, sir. That's a biased poll. Here's the real poll, and your poll numbers are the best. And that's why he keeps saying it. I think he's delusional enough and misinformed enough that he thinks that's the case. And that he knows, because he would lie and manipulate and steal and cheat, that he thinks that's what they're doing to him. And it's not outside the realm of possibility, because I'm not supporting Republicans. I'm not supporting Democrats. I'm voting for the better option, no matter where it is. I'm fucking sick to death of the Democrats. The only reason they ever get my vote is because they're the slightly better option. But they're just as Zionist and billionaire friendly and gun lobby friendly and anti, human dignity and rights. Not quite just. I shouldn't say just. It's not like both sides are equal. We wouldn't be here if the votes had gone another way. But, there's corruption everywhere. It's just not necessarily equal corruption. And as long as that's the case, it reinforces the idea of do unto others before they get a chance to do unto you. That is their golden rule.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think another issue is like also the need for cognitive closure. Like people want simple answers for complex questions, and like that have to be nuanced. And like just the question you had earlier, like what's the best form of for politics? Is it like communism or democracy, or what was it? Yeah, whatever. But it was like that. But like there is no simple answer. You can't even answer how do you make fire with one word? Like you smack a few stones together and shit. Like it's not even that is simple. And that's kind of the issue, that people on the right, they need that kind of closure, and this is what religion gives them. And that's why it's the same exact pattern. Like with Trump giving simple answers, like it's the immigrants. While the top 1% pull all the money out of the system. And it's like, oh yeah, it's the immigrants, it is whatever, like he makes something up, whatever is most convenient at the time. And it's just to cater for the cognitive closure and not to give any real response, which I think is just really sad.
Build that wall. Wall.
Rajat lost me, not just because it was even before the Path to Truth thing. So I'm not remotely an expert or well-versed on political systems around the world and the consequences of all of this. And I am a rather privileged and ignorant English-speaking American citizen. I often wonder if during my time in the military, I committed what should be considered war crimes. Whether the information that I've given was so dishonest and deceptive that I felt comfortable doing things that I shouldn't do. But I will say, when you cite Cuba as a good system, I'm now going to have to go off and do some studying, because all of the information that I've had on Cuba is that it is an oppressive civil rights nightmare, and I certainly wouldn't. That's one of the reasons why I asked about the God thing, because Rajat was basically a theist, and I'm like, okay, what does his God want? And does his God want me to live in a system where I'm forced to worship that God, or that God's the only one that's worshipped? He seemed willing to control the message as long as it was consistent with what he wanted, and I can't do that. It's probably the biggest problem with the left is that we value the freedom of thought, the freedom of expression, the diversity of opinions, and we tend to view, not always, but we tend to view the preferred response to bad speech is better speech, and the preferred response to bad information is better information. But we built a world where the internet has made it so that everybody has access to too much information for them to actually be able to navigate the world without doing more work than they feel like they should.
Yeah.
That's essentially like ignorance and tolerance fighting against one another, and there's no end in sight.
Yeah. But all right, I appreciate the call, Mika. I gotta let you go. I got one more call to get to before we do the super chats, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, really quick, would you mind if I threw out 2 seconds? You guys are in a little plug. You guys are in Austin, or there's a lot of people in Austin who are probably fans of yours. A good friend of mine used to co-host my podcast, Sam Slade. He would co-host when Ty or I were gone. He's out of Austin. He's running for state representative there, District 49. And he's a good dude. And so if anybody out there wants to, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but you can look up Sam Slade. He's running for state house representative, District 49 in Austin. So I was just, while we're talking politics, it just sprung on me that I'm like, oh shoot, Sam's out there. I should throw his name out there, and for any people in the Austin area who are looking to vote in the next election, look up Sam for me.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Also, we've skipped all kinds of announcements. We got one more call to get to, and so Maureen, hang tight for just a second. When it's over, we're going to be reading the super chats, and there aren't very many super chats yet. So this is your opportunity to get your questions in now. Arden, what announcements have we got as far as shows this week on the line?
Yeah, give me 1 second to switch over my audio.
Boom, boom, boom. There's audio switching going on.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to have that feedback loop thing that I've talked about. All right.
Yeah.
So coming up this week, we actually have a really busy weekend for you guys. So tomorrow on TACIS is going to be Dr. Ben and Josie Caballero. On Friday, we're doing a Cus I Wanna with Forrest Balkai and Cynthia McDonald. On Saturday, there's another Cus I Wanna with Justin from the Deconstruction Zone and Sarah Leaving Faith. So if any of you saw the last few episodes of that pairing, you want to see it again, that'll be there this Saturday. On Sunday, we haven't sorted out who's going to be with Shannon, but it's going to be Shannon Q and somebody. Then on After Dark, it'll be Forrest Valkai and Paula Gia. Monday on Skeptalk will be Shannon Q and Aaron Adair. Then on Tuesday on Chewed Gum will be Alyssa Lube and Taylor, the Skeptical Heretic. Then next Wednesday, right back here on the Hang Up, it's going to be Matt, joined by Brady Goodwin.
Awesome possum. All right. Final call for tonight before we go on to super chats, and we're going to be reading all the super chats. Or I don't know. I'll let Arden figure out what the threshold is. It was normally 10, but we'll do whatever.
$10, yeah.
Maureen's calling from Canada with a political question. So, Maureen, how are you, and how can we help?
I'm fine. How are you guys?
Exhausted. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had two questions. One was about the SAVE Act. From my understanding, you have to have your name has to match your birth certificate, and you have to have a photo ID. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how does MAGA assume that their voters are already prepared and everybody else isn't? And could Marco Rubio jump in there as Secretary of State and all of a sudden not issue passports to people, somehow try to screw them up?
So I don't know that they have any way of knowing that the people who vote on the right are more likely to have the correct paperwork. But they do know that the people who are least likely to have the correct paperwork are the ones that don't tend to vote. So they're going to lose voters from both sides. It's just the statistics show that they're going to lose more voters against them, because the SAVE Act, there's going to be some things through. Like, for example, if you got married and you changed your name, or you changed your name for any reason and it differs from your birth certificate, there are ways through other legal paperwork to show that that change has happened. And so you might have to jump through some hoops, but most people aren't going to have to jump through too many hoops. But the people that it's most difficult to jump through those hoops are people who are working multiple jobs, people who are poor, people who can't afford to get a passport, people who don't have the time to get a passport, people who don't have the time to go jump through these hoops before the next election. And, you know, I don't know that they know for sure. I just think that they're betting that this impacts the left more than it impacts the right. With regard to what Marco Rubio can do, honestly, at this point, so first, I don't know what the limitations are on what he can do. But at this point, all the limitations that I knew and understood once upon a time are out the window with the free reign that the Supreme Court and the weak do-nothing Congress seem to be willing to allow them to do whatever. I mean, they can run around killing U.S. citizens using the wrong warrants in order to invade people's homes. They can deport people. They can do whatever they want. So can they deny people passports? Sure.
I personally think that I don't know that it's hard to say because we keep letting them get away with stuff that I can't believe we let him get away with. But sometimes I think Trump's a moron. I think he's good at certain types of grifting things. I think some people around him are smarter than others. I think though that they're on some level, and I could be wrong. I hope I'm correct. I think sometimes in their haste, just to virtue signal, if that's the word, or to punish the people that they don't like, I think a lot of times the current administration, the Trump administration, does things because they heard it somewhere. Someone said voter ID, and they said we got to get it out there. And I personally think that there is something to be said that originally this voter ID stuff, from what I remember this a decade ago when they were really talking hard about it, they were talking about going to rural areas, and I remember people on the left saying how it was going to affect a lot of like rural Black areas. Like think of like if you're in the you're in the rural areas of whatever, Alabama or somewhere in the South, and you're some old woman who's been voting. She's 80 years old and lives in a small town and never had a driver's license. And they were closing DMVs. They were doing this. They were closing DMVs in a lot of areas. And that's when they were saying, let's make these, you have to have this ID. And the argument was, well, they're doing that to stop these older, often minorities from voting because they don't have IDs. They don't have driver's license. They've been voting for 80 years. And now they've got to take a bus 50 miles to go get an ID from now that they've closed the DMV, and they're just not going to do that. And I think they had that in their head, but I think where they've screwed up a little bit is that a lot of these poor idiot white people who voted MAGA, the working class that probably should be voting Democrat, like a lot of the we see, like we saw 50% of the union people voting MAGA, which never made any sense to me because they're so anti-union. I think that those are the people that don't have passports. I think those are the people screaming and yelling, we want voter ID. But it's just like the Cubans that were screaming and that were pro-Trump that are now getting deported. I think a lot of those people don't really realize what it is that they're going to have, the hoops they're going to have to jump through. So I do think it's going to hurt them more than they thought. I think that originally they thought, how can we punish these rural Black people and minorities? And I think it's going to have a bigger backlash than they expected. I kind of think a lot of that with the last name thing. And I could be completely wrong. I don't know that they are trying to get rid of women from voting. It's possible. It seems a little bit way out there, like even for them. I kind of feel like they're so wrapped up in the anti-trans issues. I really feel like somebody on the Trump administration said, well, if you're going to vote, you got to vote by your birth name. And that's how we can stick it to the trans community. and we're going to make sure that you have to go by your birth name because that's what they were doing with passports. You have to have your birth name on your passport, and you can't be the name that you are now. You've got to show on your passport that you were what you were born with. It was just a petty way to punish a community, a small community that they have this, and that's virtue signaling red meat to their base. And I think that they were doing the same thing. Like, you want to vote? Well, you're going to have to show us your name that it was on your birth certificate. And I think they didn't realize, oops, that might stop a lot of married women if you do it the way that you have it written. And I think that was an unintended consequence, personally. And I think a lot of this shit's going to bite them in the ass.
My mom won't be able to vote.
Yeah, I think that's going to affect red states more with the rural areas and the poorer people that don't have photo IDs. So I don't think they thought this out very good.
You're assuming they'll enforce it in those areas.
Right.
This is true. I had one more question. It's about the detention centers. And I'm wondering, I've heard this, I'm not sure, that some of these are privately owned. So they're like prisons that are privately owned. So they're probably going to want some profit. And I'm wondering what you think of them not deporting these people, but leaving them there and using them for the labor that they've taken out of the system, because farmers are looking for labor, and here's a cheaper labor for them, and they might need to take that. I wonder what you think of that.
I don't see why that wouldn't happen. What they do with the prison system. This is basically the prison system. For-profit companies already are involved in that, and they're already involved in these detention centers. The limit, of course, being how much they can use them. But it's really easy to just say, hey, we're running this center and it's costing us a bunch of money, and so the government needs to keep paying us more money, or the government can just pay us what it's paying us and allow these people to, earn their keep and cover their meals and whatever else. Yeah. I mean, if you'd have told me back in 2015, we'd be basically talking about work camps, concentration camps. If you'd have told me anything about what's going on today back in 2015, I would have written you off as a lunatic. Like, I'd have hung up. It would have been, yeah, we're not going to waste time on calls like that. Like, I've already had to apologize to some people who I think they were overly fearful, but they turned out to be right. So, like, on Roe v. Wade, for example, I'm like, oh, that's a law. That's not going to change. I mean, they'd have to do what they did. And then they did it step by step. And I was just like, I don't see how that's possible. And I had more confidence in people caring about the truth. And I was wrong. You see it every single week on here. And for years now, we don't get very many honest theists. We don't get very many honest MAGA folks. We get a dipshit racist like Tim. We get atheists lying and saying they're theists so they can call me fat or an asshole or gay or ugly, whatever. And we get people with co-host syndrome who want to call in and give their book report on their favorite thing, or some people who are struggling with real things or want thoughts. And I mean, you're calling in for an exam for my thoughts on something, when honestly this is a subject where I don't think my thoughts are worth the time to listen to for a lot of this. But I still appreciate the fact that people care about that. But somebody asked earlier what I thought myself or humanism contributed to any potential change in Texas. And I don't know that it contributed anything, but also I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix any of this, because everything that I've done is predicated on the notion that There are rational people in the world who will care about truth and will see reason. And for whatever reason, even Rajat, who is an intelligent person who seemed reasonable on a number of things, couldn't see, like, incapable of evaluating an analogy correctly when it was analogous to a flaw in his thinking. All those SAT tests of, X is to Y as Z is to A. I don't know if we just don't teach thinking like that at all, or, it's like Ghislaine Maxwell is to Jeffrey Epstein as Pam Bondi is to Donald Trump. I mean, that should be straightforward and easy. It's obvious. Oh, well, that's not directly analogous because Jeffrey Epstein wasn't president. Holy shit. The way people's brains are ignoring, like, I get it, I'm weird. I didn't used to be this weird. And it's not that I got weirder. It's that we gave a voice to let everybody know. We're still talking about flat earth stuff, Maureen. We've got, you remember, I used to mock the QAnon folks talking about the demonic pedophile Pizzagate stuff. They were right. They just had some aspects of it wrong. And it was a big fucking false flag type operation of, hey, Epstein and the billionaires rule the world, and they're using pizza as their code language and all kinds of other stuff. And so if they just leak little bits of this, or somebody gets a little bit of it wrong, and then they spin it as, oh, look, it's, Hillary Clinton in the basement of a pizza place, when, it's Colonel Pedophile on the island with a trapdoor. I mean, you guys really need to get a clue, and not just the game, but not you, Maureen, but I don't know. I'm just ranting now because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, well, in my humble opinion, you're the shows that the line have on are an opening for people to call in and hear or to listen to what people have to say, and you get us hearing people with the most outrageous things, and you sit there wondering how they think this. But you guys are always, trying to bring some truth, trying to bring some hope into it. You guys helped me deconstruct. You helped me understand science. You're helping me understand what's going on in America. So your shows are actually doing something. So I hope you know that you are helping people, and maybe that's why you don't get as many theists calling in, because they realize just how they don't have an argument for believing in a God that doesn't exist. So I'm thankful for these shows. I do appreciate them.
Well, I appreciate you, Maureen, and I appreciate you for saying so. It's just the number of times where the way I thought the world worked turned out to be the exact opposite of how the world worked is staggering. And some of it gets down to, like, my dad taught me, I don't particularly, by the way, I didn't in my professional career, I didn't always have a good work ethic. I do a lot, but I'm also prone to laziness and slacking off and procrastinating. And I don't think I had a good work ethic on some of that. And it was reinforced by this notion that if you work hard and do your job, that's how you get ahead. And when I got out of the Navy and I worked hard and I did my job, I did it so good that I lost my job. I got work done 6 months ahead of time, and they basically said, oh, we don't have any work for you to do for the next 6 months, so we're going to let you go. And that was crushing. I remember making fun of, like, I was an employee of Dell, and I would make fun of the contractors who were contracting to Dell because they didn't have the same benefits and they didn't have any job security, because I stupidly thought I had job security. And they would just kind of look at me and smile. They knew. I didn't have any fucking job security, and I should have known. My dad worked for the airlines, had one of the best, still has one of the best work ethics ever. And it was, you know, he has to change jobs every 5 years because there is no job security and there is no, you know, it doesn't matter how long you've been a company employee and what you've done for the company. It's the bottom line every time. And the corporations and the government, and I don't want to say the government, corporations don't give a shit about anything but the bottom line. And you're only valuable to the extent that you are still contributing to the bottom line. Doesn't matter how much you did before. The only saving kind of grace I have on any of this is that as long as we still have the ability to vote and to speak our minds, we live in a participatory government where I will talk shit about Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, not Amy Schumer. That was funny.
That was funny.
Because that's what needs to happen to get them to listen to us, or to get them to get the fuck out of the way and get people in who are going to do the job. That's the only hope I have, is that we're not going to lose the right to free speech and voting and autonomy. And those rights are fragile and very likely about to go away under the goals of the current administration, from the SAVE Act to they're now asking Google and YouTube and Facebook to identify anybody who's spoken out about ICE. I'm definitely on their list of violent extremist domestic terrorists when I'm sitting here denouncing violence. Still, I lost friends because they wanted to run around punching Nazis. And I maintained, no, you don't engage in physical violence in response to speech, a position I still hold. However, the number of things that I will just absolutely, I'm getting closer and closer to, okay, we're at some point, violence is going to be justified in defense. I'm not a pacifist. You break into my house and try to hurt me, I'm going to fight back. I'm not just going to let you walk in and take what you want or violate my family or any of that. But if you're talking about how I'm a reprobate who deserves death, I'm not going to punch you for it. And then the other day I saw something. There's a kid in a school. I don't know if it's real or not. I think it is, because the kid that got punched is a troll. But a kid was sitting there with a sign that said, I support ICE. And another kid walked up to him, and the kid with the sign was filming it all. And the kid walked up and says, I'm going to punch you in the face, or I'm going to punch you. And the guy says, you're going to get in trouble. And the kid says, okay, and hauled off and punched him. And while I can't, as a humanist, I can't say, go for it, start punching people. I didn't have much objection left. And they're turning that kid into a meme. And I want the t-shirt with his face on it, because as he was, I think the reason I loved that kid, he was okay with the consequences. When the kid was like, you're going to get in trouble. Okay, I'm willing to get in trouble to take you down a peg. Now, I used to like MMA stuff. I don't watch really anymore. I know Ian's much more knowledgeable on this than I am, but I at least acknowledge these are people who are consenting adults. And if they want to beat the fuck out of each other, go for it. If they want to get a concussion, it's your body, you know. I'm doing damage to my body on the regular that I shouldn't be doing. How can I object to somebody having fun with somebody else where it's like watching Jackass, only with experts. And but at the end of the day,
expert division.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, I don't necessarily want to say that kid's a hero, but he's really fucking close to a hero. because he was willing to take. It's like when I speed, I'm doing it knowing I could get a speeding ticket. And I'm okay with that. So anyway, way too many sermons. We're about out of time. Thank you so much, Maureen. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good night.
You too. All right. That ends the call-in portion of today's show. We got super chats to read. We're going to alternate. There's not a lot of them, and that's because I'm a miserable failure. But Greg Murkowski, $10. Thanks, Greg. Is there any video out there of your very first appearance on public access TV? Is it cringe or did you do okay for your first time? I won't point you to the organization that has those videos, but I wouldn't be surprised if they hadn't reposted it recently, since they keep reposting my old content to pay their fucking employees. The first one would have been from December 2004. I called in when Jeff D and Ashley were on. And then I think my first appearance actually on there was in March of 2005. Jeff D had been scheduled to come on and forgot that it was his week. And I had written an article on the Supreme Court ruling on the Ten Commandments monuments. And Ashley asked me if I wanted to fill in because I'd already been volunteering. And I did. And the rest is history. I don't think that appearance was particularly cringe. There were several cringe appearances after that. There was one where Russell and I both were asked about the ontological argument and gave an answer to the cosmological argument instead and got called out by the caller. It was absolutely embarrassing. And we can't even, it wasn't even a mishear. It was just a misfire in the brain because I'm familiar with those categories. But we just together, Russell and I just talked ourselves into, here's the response we need to give. I've always tried to avoid being on autopilot, and trust me, it gets harder. I mean, I've done this for 20 years. There's some canned answer I could give to almost everything. And so as a game, I try to make it where I don't. But don't go watch the old content. Watch the new content.
That's right. Ooh, $20 from Richard West. Tallarico campaign raised $2.5 million in 24 hours after digital-only late show interview. The interview was not great, but I'll take whatever we can get given the circumstances. Yeah, it's funny. I think earlier, you're saying that earlier, Matt, it's almost like I'm waiting for the conspiracy theorists to go, it was all planned. It's almost like it did them a favor. Not almost, it did them a favor.
Yeah.
To get the hype that they were censored, and they had to go to the online, which has a bigger audience.
I think early voting, honey, did it start today? And we're going to go first thing next week because I got
it was yesterday, but yeah.
Yesterday. So yeah, early voting. Unless something changes between now and next week, yeah, he's probably got my vote. $10 from the atheist mechanic. Tim, the only race is the human race, you racist. I appreciate that. Not really a fan of that take on it, but you know what? Everything about that is better than anything Tim uttered. Except goodbye. I think he might have said goodbye.
$10 from Space Barbarian. My thoughts on the white supremacy, like Tim, were best described by Groucho Marx. I don't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member.
True.
Well, yeah. What's your group, man?
$10 from alias Shauna Silverbow. Tim, we all know that it's not a ghost costume that you're wearing every day. You are the problem, you scared little man. Speaking of clubs that would have me as a member, I'm not going to go and tell the story. Someday, if we're on a show and a super chat comes in of a sizable amount that specifically asks the question, I will tell the story of exactly what Lawrence Krauss said to me the first time we met and how my name doesn't appear in the Epstein files, but it damn well could have. Not for doing anything wrong. It's worth reminding people just because your name appears in there. I mean, I mentioned the other day Rebecca Watson's name's in there, and that's because Dawkins and Krauss are awful.
$10 from is it Jay Sloan YouTube? After hearing many calls from Tim, I can confirm he is a little crybaby victim-minded loser. Anyway, fuck ICE. Love the show. It's not hard to understand what you can. God dang, I can't talk. Understand.
English,
do what you
motherfucker,
can
do
do
you
to
speak
fight
it?
white supremacy. I am dyslexic, and I had to take my glasses off just to get that. So,
that's fine. All right. $10 from Joshua Everett. Hey, Joshua. I've been getting testy with people complaining when I get angry about the country or that politics just aren't that important when they're also curious about what's happening. Any suggestions? You are talking to the wrong person. I think I demonstrated tonight. Like, I've got therapy tomorrow. I've genuinely been working on making sure that I don't lose my shit as often. And yet, the way things are going in the world and specifically in this country, I'm on the verge of tears and a breakdown way more often than anybody should be. And when I have to deal with people who are dishonest, who are trolling, I mean, if you're trolling, that means you're either on the side of the fascists or you don't care enough. And whether that's because you are misinformed, ill-informed, or apathetic, you're still essentially a bootlicker. And I don't understand. I have a lot of privilege. A lot. I don't understand how much privilege you need to have to be oblivious to all this and to think now is the time to call in and complain about somebody's attitude when they're responding to people who are essentially supporting the destruction of the world. Like, there's a non-zero chance, based on the information that's just come out in the last 24, 48 hours, that we could be at a war with Iran this week. And when you consider that this is what Israel wants, what some people will think will distract from the Epstein files, and the fucked up nature of the spineless people in power that might be decent on some level, and the unbridled power of those who definitely don't care and are trying to hide their own corruption. Like, it will be no surprise if I'm back here Wednesday saying, see, I told you we'd be at war with Iran. I hope we're not. I hope the information I heard today is exaggerative and maybe 3D chess to try to get them to agree to something. But
by the way, one of my biggest pet peeves forever is when people go, "Oh, I don't get into politics." And I started years ago saying, "Tell me what isn't politics." Yeah. Like you're the road you're on, the gas prices, whatever, the air you breathe. It's all affected. It drives me absolutely crazy. And that's what I say to everybody when they give me that attitude. I just go, "Oh, cool. Well, tell me what isn't politics, and I'll tell you why you shouldn't be involved in politics then, or why you shouldn't care about politics. If you can explain to me one thing that affects your life that isn't somehow related to policy." But
yeah, I had the same argument, I don't know, a million times, but just the other day with someone who was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk politics." Okay, what would you like to talk about? Tell me something that's not politics. The weather, because the weather's still politics too, and we're doing absolutely nothing about climate change and risks and stuff like that. And part of me wonders if it's not just a known secret that an asteroid is getting ready to demolish the planet, or we're too far gone on climate change, and so they're actively working to hide away the rich people with a secret workforce and just let everybody else demolish themselves. This is, I can't believe any of it because there's not sufficient evidence for it. But I'm starting to see how the conspiracy theorists get there, and that's fear and an insufficiently reliable standard of proof.
Yeah.
And what's funny is one of the videos that I'm doing next week is going to take on a prominent atheist, not for conspiracy theorist thinking, but well, I'm not going to tell you, but he fucked up.
Okay. You'll have to share that one with me. $10 from Paul691. What does that say? Noel? I can't read.
It looks like it says felon the nad felon backwards.
That felon the nad, yes, felon.
But I don't get it. Nole F Don et Nolef. And it's probably a reference I'm missing, but I don't know what felon the nad F Elon.
F Elon, yes.
Okay, I could go with F Elon, and it's probably related to Trump and Elon.
Definitely.
$10 for Mr. Barikba. Good grief. The amount of mental gymnastics Tim and Rajat had to engage just to keep up the facade they've manufactured. Nice little special C there. It shouldn't be that difficult to actually engage in honest critical thought. It shouldn't. But this is why we end up with clips. I will work 2-3 hours on a show and take ridiculous calls because we're going to get a clip, and the love of my life down the hall is going to take that clip, get rid of all the bullshit that I fucked up, and post highlighting the part where you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can lead a theist, a MAGA, a right-winger to reason, but you can't make them think. And it is so transparently obvious. I mean, I spend a lot of time, and I'll rework an analogy. Okay, the die roll is random. Maybe your thoughts are, maybe they're not. Literally got to your opinion about what God thinks versus what I think. I mean, that is as close to a perfect analogy as possible. And there was like there's some God glasses or reason proof glasses that don't allow you to see it or something. There's a barrier.
I'll never understand it. $10 from SJL. I live in Massachusetts. I've been voting since 1982. I give my street, house number, and name. They cross it off the voter list. I have never shown ID. 2016 was the first time I heard voter fraud complaints. It's so ridiculous. When you sign up, when you get here in California, when you get your driver's license, when you're getting your ID, I went with my daughter to get hers. They go, "Would you like to register to vote?" Yes, they click it off. They send you a ballot here in California, like an absentee ballot, a vote mail-in by mail vote in ballot. If you want to vote in person, and I know because I did this accidentally, I went down to vote in person and they said, "Where is your mail-in ballot?" And I said, "I don't have it. It's at home." And they said, "You have to give that to us or we can't give you a ballot." So I had to go home, get the mail. And then you give it to them. They say, "What's your address?" They check you off. If somebody else comes in saying they're Ian Harris and they're going to vote and they don't have the mail-in ballot, they don't get to vote. I don't, and I've already provided my ID. I've already registered with my Social Security or whatever the thing I needed to originally register to prove myself. So I don't even. It's just a nonsensical argument. This whole voter ID thing. It's just to stop certain people from voting. I hope it backfires on them and hopes it stops the wrong people from voting. The right people.
I have. I don't want to show everything about it, but pretty much every year I get sent this. I'm going to cover parts of it up, but I get sent this voter ID card. When I get it, it goes directly in my wallet. the only ID that I carry is my Texas straight driver's license. My passport, which is right up here, is currently expired, and in a stupid, probably sense of solidarity, I decided that until Arden's able to get her passport, I'm not going to get mine renewed. It's a dumb thing. It didn't even make sense. It reminded me when Brad Pitt said he wouldn't get married until everybody would got married. It was, kind of, that was a show of support, and I think I was trying to do that, but it's really kind of a dumb thing. It would be good for me to get a passport, but that's one of the reasons I wasn't. I was invited to go to BajaCon one year, and I fucked it all up, and I wouldn't be surprised if they never invited me back. That would be the right move on their part, because I made things more. I got sick, and I didn't have a passport, and I made things more difficult. So, but if they were wanting me back, or if they were wanting me to come up at some point, I can't right now, because even with the bridge they're building, I can't get across that bridge because I don't currently have a passport. But luckily, what's funny is if they're going to make your name match your birth certificate, do they have my birth certificate? And are they actually going to check everybody's birth certificate? I have my birth certificate. Do they have a searchable index of birth certificates for everybody? And by the way, my birth certificate doesn't have anything on it that would identify me. There's like, even if it had a picture of me as a baby, or like a footprint or a fingerprint, there, it's not going to match exactly, and nobody's going to check it. This is really, really weird stuff. Really weird.
Yeah. Is that you or me?
It's me. 10 euros from Hypagon. Mika here. Hey, thanks, Mika. Thanks for the call. The community you built is more than anyone could ask for. It's a refuge. The few sane people left, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, and thanks for the call. All right. Someday I want to have a show that's just fun. Like, everything's better. Let's have a show where we just talk about not even talk about how bad things used to be. Just, what's your fun plans for next week? I'm going to go-kart riding or something. I don't know.
You should do it, and then just have one call, and that one call will be like, "This is why you suck, Matt." And then you can.
It's fine. I'm going to do a show. That's it. I'm going to do a show where anybody who wants to can call in and pay by the minute to tell me everything they don't like about me, and I will have to stay muted and just listen to it. And they get to pay per minute to lambast me. And the only limitations are going to be that you cannot directly or indirectly attack someone else. Like, don't go after the entire gay community or the trans community, whatever, just me. It's time to bitch slap Matt. $5 for 5 minutes.
And it has to go to a charity they hate. Okay.
No, it has to go to me. If I'm going to sit here and take it, I'm keeping the fucking money. But
there you go. All right, $10 from Daisy Dex. What bothers me about Republicans is that they vote against their own interests out of spite for minorities. Also, why are Line episodes not on Spotify anymore?
Those were not posted by us. Those were posted by some random other person without the consent of the Line, and they were profiting off of it. So we contacted Spotify to get that shit taken down.
Oh.
So basically, if you were supporting the Line on Spotify, you were supporting somebody else. But we appreciate the fact that you liked it.
And you could put it up there, but you'll get 3 cents for every 9,000 hours listened to. It's absolutely abhorrent the way they pay.
$10 from Aliashana Silverbow. Thanos' finger snap would have a greater impact if they found a way to make it seem like half the audience disappeared. Apparently, only DC movies can do that. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the MCU over the next year or so as they try to work a reset.
$10 from Joshua Everett. Is there, in your opinion, a point where the amount of real harm that comes from a person actively being fascist in public and advocating for it is greater than the harm from stifling their free speech?
No. I shouldn't say no. I'm not a free speech absolutist. And I'm generally okay with consequences for speech in the case of, libel, slander, and things like inciting a riot. And so if you're inciting a riot, if you are actively working to promote others to do harm, which would be in the inciting a riot thing, then yeah, I think there should be consequences to your speech. So I'm not an absolutist, but I'm close enough that I want the racists to be just comfortable enough to let us know who they are. I want the fascists to be just comfortable enough to let us know who they are. I want the people who are trying to do violence to be just comfortable enough so that we can identify who they are. I don't think we should have to go asking Google to scour through people's emails to find if they're ideologically opposed to our views. I want them just comfortable enough that they'll tell us. Because you know what? I'm here under my real name and always have been. And when I say, fuck ICE, ICE is a terrorist organization funded by your tax dollars. Israel's perpetrating a genocide. The Democratic Party are complicit, not all the time, but much of the time. When I point out when I say what I say, I don't call into shows under fake names and pretend like I'm somebody I'm not so that I can get my Baba Booey in or call somebody names. That's the funny thing about guys like Bob. And I got your fucking phone number, Bob. Let's have a chat offline, you little coward. I don't call you Bob. I don't know who you are. Don't give a shit. But thank you for your attention to this matter. $10 from Ryder Dragon. What we can do: promote candidates that don't take donor money, find common ground with political foes, return government to the voters. We got to find a way to ban and fundamentally change the way elections are funded. Because if you're only currently promoting candidates that don't take donor money, they can't get elected, given the system is such that it's just not likely to happen.
Well, aren't there places? I mean, I know there are. I just don't know the exact details. But where the announcement, I mean, I know there's ways to get away from that, like around that, like not announcing directly, but where there's a certain window where you can announce and you can run, and there's only a certain amount of money that you're allowed to have and spend, and it can only come from certain, like everyone gets $1 million and you can run these ads, and I feel like I believe there are places like that, and I feel like there's ways that we could do that. And on top of that, I think we have to have ranked choice voting or something similar to that. The problem is who's going to do it, because unless, and this is my problem with the people that and I don't want to call them the leftists or the whatever, because I consider myself that. But the people that don't vote when they don't get their perfect candidate all the time, I'm like, well, we have to at least keep trying to nudge people into getting more people in that are going to reform the voting system so that we can get better candidates. And at this point, if that takes a centrist and some leftists and some progressives and some liberals or whatever to eventually get a better voting system and to change the way elections are run and candidates are funded, the only people even talking about that are people left of center and left. And we have to get them in and get that up so that we can get better candidates, because that's the only way we're going to be able to elect those people. When people talk about having a two-party system, the only way is going to be voter reform, election reform, and ranked choice, some sort of ranked choice voting system. And the only people advocating for that is one side.
I'm going to give an example. I'm on the board of directors. I'm on a couple of boards of directors, but I'm on the board of directors for American Atheists. American Atheists is a national organization. And it's not a democratic organization in the sense that American Atheists has members, but the members don't vote on the board. The board for American Atheists is entirely self-selected. The board gets together and proposes, new potential board members and votes on them and brings them in. In an organization, it's one of many ways to set up a board. The problem is, if the board ever gets to be majority corrupt, there is no way to fix that. They just will keep bringing in whoever they want to bring in. Fortunately, I will stay on this board for the rest of my life to try to make sure that nothing like that ever happens. And I will say that the board members for American Atheists are, in my experience, some incredibly ethical and decent people who realize that is a potential problem and cooperate and have open communications to make sure that, there's a long process. You don't just get on the board of the organization. There are other, but the point is, there are other organizations that work this way. And if you have board members that aren't diligent in standing up against that, there's no way to fix it. You have to scrap it and start over. That organization just becomes corrupt and dies. The same thing is true for the United States government or any other government. While we are able to vote, you have to be able to convince a significant portion of the population that ranked choice voting is a good thing, that getting, money out of politics is a good thing, enough for them to vote for the candidates who run on that. But as it stands right now, very few candidates will even make an attempt to run on that because they want to get elected, many of them, to do the most good they can, even though they know they're going to compromise. I had a former friend who decided to stay in a corrupt state legal job because if somebody from MAGA got their job, there would be nobody inside to potentially stop them. And this person's view was, at least I can minimize the harm. And I don't necessarily think that that's the right course of action, but there are people who are like, hey, I'm going to get in and do what good I can, even if it means compromising on some things. And the problem is that trends towards more and more compromise. It trends towards more and more corruption until you're basically sacrificing everything so that you can be 10% less evil. You can deny 10% fewer people their rights. Revolution needs to happen. All right. Couple more left. $10 from Mo Scoville. Great show today. Finally able to be a member again. Awesome. Hey, thanks, Mo. The tanky Christian that was for re-education was an odd one. Never seen that combination before. Have you? Not in that specific sense, I don't think. But we've been getting odd calls lately.
Space Barbarian. $10 from Space Barbarian. When people say don't be political, I hear don't defend yourself from being assaulted with politics. I think people just don't want to, they don't want to engage in anything that's going to make them think half the time. But
yeah. $20 from Saul Willis. It's easier for me to reject baseless claims, but the harder thing is accepting the mounting evidence of just how much depravity exists in the world. And the evidence of your eyes hurts your heart. That takes moral strength. Yeah. I had no idea. And what's sorry, give me a second. What's sad is that I have family members who for years talked about how demonic and sick this world is and how it's worse than any of us can imagine. And it's predators and corruption and demonic sacrifice and just all, I mean, the satanic panic stuff, all of it. And now that we're at the point where we're starting to realize that stuff is happening, even though, I don't give any sort of supernatural satanic credit. The same family members that were talking about this in this sickle world are supporting that side and denying the facts of reality. When I got in that big argument with my mom several years ago, I was like, if I said any of the things that Trump said that are objectionable, you'd have washed my mouth out with soap, threatened to disown me, called in a preacher to pray the demons out of me, something. And yeah, I don't get it.
It's crazy too when they say stuff, when Pam Bondi or whomever it was said, if we arrested everybody in the Epstein files, the entire system would collapse.
That didn't happen.
That's a pretty freaking incredible statement.
Pam Bondi didn't say that.
Wasn't that I thought somebody
Nobody said it. It's a meme that got passed around. It's another one that couldn't be sourced as true.
I got suckered. Somebody, I'm sorry. I got suckered.
Yeah, but Blanchos got suckered.
Was that?
A bunch of folks got suckered on that one.
Oh, well.
But it's easy to get suckered because
I fucked up. There you go.
It's easy to get suckered on that because it feels like the truth.
Yeah.
At this point, the system would collapse. I don't need Pam Bondi to say it. I don't need anybody to put it in a fucking meme. It's obvious. I think that Kash Patel is actively lying because he had to know all of this. He is the FBI director. I think he's actively lying because he'll be dead if he says the truth.
Well, of course he's lying. He especially when you just look at what he said before. When he was just a podcaster, which is also hilarious that half of the administration is made up of podcasters and just like ran. I mean, there's anything wrong with podcasting, but it's like half these people came from some sort of background that has nothing to do with their position. But yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Final super chat. I want to see Matt Dillahunty meet the Nazi Chudsell. Oh, Nazi Chudsell Matt from Friday, and see how it goes between the two. I spent 12 hours today on 4chan and the Foids. I'm gonna mute you. I don't get the reference to whatever happened on Friday. Arden, do you know what that's about?
I don't, but I mean, calling women foids is an incel thing, and he said that he's a Nazi chudcel, so it sounds like he's just saying a misogynist incel Nazi called in and wants you to kick his ass.
Okay, I have bad news for anybody who wants to see me kick anybody's ass. I know verbally that I should be in better shape. I know I'm going to be 57 next month. And I'm technically in better shape than I've been for many years. I could not kick anybody's ass and get winded and weak just working on my regular stuff. Nobody wants to see me in a fight unless you want to see me get my ass kicked, because that'll happen. However, let's don't tell anybody that. I need to maintain this imposing facade. Let's make them all afraid of me that I'm roar, whatever. When Ian could beat my ass with a pinky.
I have no problem kicking somebody else's ass if anybody needs me to.
There you go. That's why If I want to be anybody's ass, I'll just take them to Ireland,
There you
Ireland, and let Ian do it for me. Anyway, thanks everybody for the super chats and thanks for tuning in. It's a lot, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't have solutions. I don't know how to fix it. It appears things are getting worse in many different ways. All I can tell you is I haven't given up. I don't plan to give up. Pretty much going to keep fighting this until I'm dead or until it's fixed. And then I'll find something new to fight to the best of my ability. And by fight, I'm not yet advocating for violence, but every single day it gets less abhorrent. And while I am not, what's that quote about? I never wished for anybody's death, but I've read some obituaries with satisfaction and glee or something like that. Somebody commented that there were several obituaries this week, Robert Duvall, Jesse Jackson, and none of them were the obituaries that they wanted to see. And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for doing this. And we'll see if we can get you back on once you move and tell us how good or bad it is over there for reals.
No, absolutely. That would be good. And I'm leaving. I'm not giving up.
Patreon.com/call the line. You can go to linemerch.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, join the channel if you want to. Tell people to call in. You got some annoying relative that thinks they can defend Jesus? Get them to do that. If you think you can defend Islam, Scientology, MAGA, get them to call in and prove it. Because right now, they're all scared of me. See you next time.